Kaor, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lore Ramblings. It's been a while since I've had the opportunity to actually mention Lore Ramblings. The name's Adam, and I'm so glad that the Discord decided to vote for this one. It was by such a convincing margin that that's the reason why we're doing NWO next week. It's just because it almost got over half of the votes. It had something close like 47%.
Yeah, but we decided to rig it in our favor. This is Imset, and we're going to be reviewing John Carter of Mars.
The Barsoom series. I almost said trilogy because the three most important books is probably the first three. I could go on and on, but I just want to get into this because otherwise I'm going to spurg about this for a while. This is easily one of my favorite books series, mainly because this is one of the sci-fi series I read as a kid. This, in a sad way, I think this is my version of Star Wars. I'm a big fucking
Yes.
mark for this.
Well, yours is technically longer than Star Wars. It's literally over 100 years old.
Oh yeah, the first copy of A Princess of Mars was released in 1911 in a magazine in 5 parts, written by Edgar Rice Burroughs, which we will get into in chapter 1. This is the cover, which includes that is not John Carter. That is actually a character they made for the setting, as is the Green Man. And they're just going to town on a tribe. There's a great white ape rampaging. There's a red Martian on a personal flyer, which I don't think that's what they look like, but, well, Burroughs was never exactly precise on what the flyers exactly looked like, especially the smaller personal ones. The larger ones looked more like ships, commonly depicted in art kind of like galleons that could fly. And hello there, Donman. Ah, yes, John Carter of Mars, the 100-year-old sci-fi book series that sadly become forgotten after Disney dropped the ball super hard when they made a movie about it. That's actually a good thing, I think, because imagine if they actually made it succeed. Imagine the horrors that would have come out of that. Which is
Oh,
sad
good
because
lord.
the books actually do allow you to do pretty powerful female counterparts. So ironically, I think Disney would have nailed it better. It actually also nails the tone better, funnily enough, because
No, it,
it's
no,
at its core a
it.
romance series.
I mean, it wouldn't have because it would have hit that 2015 mark,
Oh
and
yeah.
I guess basically whatever villain could be a Trump allegory, or basically they're going to create their own race, the Orange People of Mars.
I mean, that's what the red men kind of look like. They're copper toned. Copper tone to actually red, it depends on the depictions. It's most commonly just called red because they're usually painted red, but they're supposed to be more like bronzed or copper like. Oh yeah, Christopher Lloyd was Tars Tarkas. That is a good point, Donman. He was actually not
Hmm.
bad as Tars Tarkas. There's problems. I could spurg about the movies, but I don't want to get on the sidetrack for it. I will
So
I
next
will
up
simply say
is
the problem is they tried to cram a sequel bait into a very simple story. A Princess of Mars is very simple, and I
as
think
we
would have done
see
gangbusters if you did it at a smaller budget.
all of the well-known areas of Mars.
Oh yeah,
You know,
like the wastelands besides the city of Duhor, which I don't even remember what Duhor has. I think it's just a city that gets referenced. It might have been
you know,
side
a
referenced
for
once or twice.
the forest, the valleys, all the common signs of life that you would clearly know of.
I mean, most
Also, the
of it's
various
wastelands,
plant,
but there is a
you know,
forest.
various plants of the system. Jasum,
That's Earth.
Kosum,
That's Venus, which
Rossum.
it's called Amtor by the locals. There's actually another series of otherworldly adventures just focused around Venus. I think they're called the Sky Pirates of Venus, and it's a crap. I forget the name of the protagonist. I think it's French, but it has its own
They
series.
they did though, surprisingly though, decide to call the moon Luna, despite having no access to any Earth culture.
That's interesting. That is actually really interesting. I'm also surprised I don't see Sesum, which is Jupiter.
Well, it's probably well, yeah, no, because the ring it only goes for the fifth ring. I guess it's hiding.
Yeah, it must be. Well, it makes sense. I also love. This is supposed to be a two-page spread. By the way, the South Pole is actually in the back of the book. This is the Northern Hemisphere, which covers the northern polar cities, which they are polar cities.
Oh, there are
Raisum is
poles.
not the sun. Raisum is Mercury, if you're wondering, Donman. I think they
I don't
just
know.
call it
Yeah.
the sun.
Again, despite not knowing any English.
By the way, it's Morbus time. There is a city called Morbus. It is actually somewhat important to the storyline.
Ghoulie,
Guli
Kale.
is more of a shitpost place. It is a silly place.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. All these names sound like shit posts.
To be blunt, most of them are just kind of made up on the spot. So if you ever want to do a shit post on the series, all you have to do is just combine two random syllables, and that sounds like a Martian place. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes three. You can get away with three, like Manitos, Manitage, and Manitor. By the way, do those cities matter? Not really. I think they're half referenced in A Fighting Man of Mars, which is one of the mid books that I've read quite a few of the John Carter books. Well, the Barsoom series, because John Carter's actually only in about half of them.
Hmm.
Michael, ah yes, the most important John Carter of Mars character of all, Michael Morbus.
Read from it, run from it. Morbius memes always arrives.
But yes, welcome to Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars as written by Modifius, which we've only really covered one of their systems, which was the Dune one, which I actually forgot we did.
The Dune one was more of a politics and management simulator. You were managing a house, and there was really not much combat, so it was more the D20 was more to deal with rivals, intrigue, spying, that kind of stuff.
Well, in fairness, in
This
Dune, unless like the technology is so crazy in Dune that you have personal reflector shields, which is why you have to get into swashbuckling sword fights because bullets are not reliable.
there was a unique book to make your own house,
That's pretty neat, and it reminds me of the A Song of Ice and Fire books that I think Green Ronin did, and those ones were
and they even
really good.
and they even gave like other houses that would be doing like various textiles or slavery or other goods. Basically, yeah, they're noble or like feudal companies.
Makes sense. So there is one negative to how this book is designed. It's a wide book, so what they decided to do is they decided to make it in three-column structure. Uh, I actually have a physical copy because again, I was such a mark. I actually backed this book, and this makes it a little bit unwieldy, but it also means that you only have about 300 pages. Martian Confederate soldier and George of the Jungle's direct ancestor are in fact written by the same guy. Yes, correct, Donman.
Yes,
Tarzan was written by Edgar Rice Burroughs. He is also, if you've ever read about stuff like Journey to the Center of the Earth, while Jules Verne was the first guy to do that, he's the one most popularized it with Pellucidar, which is the underground prehistoric primordial Earth.
and also probably because Verne is French.
That is
I'm
very
assuming
unfortunate.
translation.
So, Chapter 1, Welcome to Barsoom. Welcome to the John Carter of Mars role playing game. I'm surprised they didn't open up with Cower, which is the Martian greeting.
Hmm.
Would have been, I mean,
But
it's probably for the best they didn't. That
yeah,
might have scared people off. That's
but
another reason the Disney movie failed is okay. One of the best ways to describe why that movie failed is just try to summarize it. Just as a shitpost, a Confederate soldier is taken to Barsoom where he meets the Tharks. He is brought in by the Jeddak Tars Tarkus. I bet you're already lost. As he then learns their ways, he is accompanied by his Kalat Woola as he defends the Princess of Helium. Meanwhile, the Holy Hekador and the Jeddak of Zodanga scheme.
this is also this would also have been done by a pre-Avengers Disney, not realizing that they could capitalize upon nerd culture and just embrace it entirely, to the point where they decided instead of writing out the full title of the film, John Carter,
It would have just been called The
what
Princess
was
of
it,
Mars,
A Princess of Mars, they cut out the princess because the of Mars and just did John Carter,
which that's
which tells you
probably not a great way
fuck
to.
all about the entire movie. Who is John Carter? Where is he? Is he in a desert? Is he in it sci? Is it in the far future? Who the fuck knows? You say a princess of Mars, you get feudal and you get sci-fi.
Another
right
thing
there.
they really kind of fucked up on is a lot of the action scenes that you see in the trailer, that's in the third act. They actually waste a lot of time. And for whatever reason, they change things up to try to turn it into an intrigue when at the end of the day, it's a really simple sword and sandals romance adventure across a fucking planet.
Though
Like it's
to
simple.
though to state the impact that this series would have, you
Star
just go on
Wars was
the
inspired by something that was inspired by this.
Buck Rogers,
Not
Flash Gordon,
yep,
Superman, Dune.
Martian
Um,
Manhunter.
yeah, the entire thing of the Martian Manhunter, the different skinned aliens. Um,
A lot of
references in
sci-fi in
Babylon
general.
5.
Babylon 5. Ray Bradbury
S-
was inspired by it.
Fred,
H.P. Lovecraft wrote the Dream Cycle and the Dreamlands in general because he was inspired by A Princess of Mars.
which I can see that now.
Like that swashbuckling adventures that occurred with Rand. I think his name was Randolph Carter, wasn't it?
Yes, Moore, apparently in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, claimed that Randolph Carter is a descendant of John Carter.
I could believe it. I mean,
Uh,
there's even more than that. Michael Moorcock actually was inspired by it. An entire trilogy of something he wrote was based on this.
the Hyperion series,
Uh,
these Turtle Dove's Southern Victory series.
Heinlein was inspired by it. He likely used Mars at least partially because of Strangers in a Strange Land. Carl Sagan's entire adventure in Odyssey into astronomy was inspired by this. And
The
last but
guy
not
who,
least, well, no, there's two more last but not least. This inspired the weird BDSM series Gore, which actually started as an
oh, yeah,
attempt to copy this. But it also, more interestingly enough, is Ronald Reagan's favorite book when he was a kid.
come on, Nancy, put this on. I need you to be like Deja Thor. We begin the bombing in 5 minutes.
Where's Tars Tarkas? Go on, Ronnie, you have to count your jelly beans. We need Tars Tarkas to defeat the Soviets.
HW, put on the green suit.
Edgar Rice
Uh,
Burroughs was a very prolific writer. He wrote a lot for magazines. Interesting fact, the last book in the Barsoom series was likely written by a son who compiled a short story that he never quite finished. Burroughs never quite finished The Skeleton Men of Jupiter, so it actually ends on a cliffhanger. And then he wrote his own little story, which is nowhere near as good, called The Giant of Mars. There's 11 books in this series, so think of all the money Disney burned by trying to sequel bait as hard as they could and blowing a lot of money on a semi-bland actor, which is unfortunate because John Carter kind of requires a certain amount of gravitas given he's a former Confederate gentleman soldier.
yeah, that that's also something that probably wouldn't fly nowadays. Here's our main character. He fought to defend slavery.
No, he didn't fight specifically to defend slavery. Here's the weird thing: he fought more for states' rights,
To do what?
and that's the thing. It's really weird, but throughout the
I
entire
mean,
books, Carter does somewhat reject and try to get rid of slavery. It's really fucking weird.
the other thing I take it as it's in this. There is this lost cause thing going around. There is that Gone with the Wind, that romanticism of the antebellum South, and that Lee and Stonewall Jackson, all those people were noble, generals fighting for their people.
It's also
Yeah,
because it makes it so that there's a reason why the character is even in the inciting incident in the first place, because John Carter was a wealthy man who basically lost his fortune when he sided with the Confederates. That's why he goes out west, which culminates in his odyssey to Mars.
hmm. And then
Here is actually a still of John Carter jumping over the Green Martians. This is one of the first things he does in the book. And this is the only thing that prevents them from killing him because they turned him into a pet. They also highlight the major themes of this book series: rationalism, romanticism, and pulp, because this is a very pulpy adventure series. I mean, this is a story where a man murders his way across a planet to find his love again. In the second book, he topples religions, and he's done this at least twice. It's kind of amazing. Donman,
But
a
then they
man who fought for a faction who favored slavery going to Mars to uproot a warring slave culture. Yeah, that's John Carter, all right. Uh, kinda, yeah, kinda not. He didn't really care about the slavery that much. It's more the cruelty. Because that's the other thing. This is very much mostly good versus evil. Noble versus savage, somewhat.
yeah.
It,
But then we
it's
do get
very, very black and white.
a nice glossary of some of the creatures because this is an unfamiliar environment. So there's a lot of different Martian subtypes.
There's a
You
lot of
have
Martian species, lost
you
races,
know,
creatures.
you
And
have the
by the
green
way, this
Martians.
glossary, no, before we get
Yeah.
go, there are things on here that they will show that are not on here that probably should be on here. So first off,
Like we
airships. Yeah, Mars doesn't have oceans, but they do have naval combat in the form of airships.
As you do, because people really thought we would be using Zeppelins in warfare.
No, they actually don't have blimps. The way the
Oh.
Martian ships work is they're literally flying ships because they have a little buoyancy tank that's filled with.
Oh.
I can go into this. Basically, on Mars, they have discovered 9 more rays of light. Not 9 more, 2 more rays of light. The 8th ray and the 9th ray. The
Hmm.
8th ray is the propulsion method for electromagnetic waves. If you contain that into a bladder, you can float because it's the propulsion of light. That's how they can get their ships to fly. The 9th ray, this one exists mainly to explain why Mars even has an atmosphere, because if you combine the 9th ray with electricity, it can create oxygen using the right methods.
So we can breathe on Mars.
Yes, you can, otherwise everyone
Musk.
would die.
Good. We can send Musk there and then leave him there for the rest of existence.
He'll get eaten by a member of the Warhoons. It'll be great. They'll
So that
clean
would.
his skull, wear it as a trophy, as a cod piece. It'll be fucking great.
Well, no, because here's what would freak him out though. The firstborn, the Black Martians. They're physically near perfect and possess secret technology and knowledge.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that would terrify him. Smart black people?
They are also the ancient race of Mars, being the first of the races of man to walk the planet.
Then we have the Green Martians, four-armed, green-skinned denizens of Barsoom.
Yeah,
We've got
these are your tribal guys, and these are the only guys that really can give Earthlings a fight for their life because Mars has lower gravity, and John Carter's from Earth. As a result,
oh,
that is why he is able to leap and fly and punch things really, really hard.
so he is Superman in this case.
Unironically, I wouldn't be surprised if Superman's original feats were based on John Carter. Some things that you also missed, there's other creatures that are very common. Banths, which are basically a very common encounter that you can run into. They're Martian
Wait, wait,
lions.
wait. Banths.
Well, remember, there's also a race of insects called the Sith in this series.
Uh, and I'm like Bantha, and yes, he was inspired by John Carter of Mars for this.
Yep. And there's a race of insects in the. You mentioned the forest. In the forest, there is a rare species of giant stinging wasp fly called the Sith, who are the most venomous creatures on the planet. As in, if you get stung by these things, you basically die instantly. There's no cure. Unless they can get their medicine to you as quickly as possible, you just drop dead. And even then, you're probably dead even with
Yeah,
the medicine.
and also may have derived exactly. I'm looking at Wikipedia exactly from it, derived from Warlord of Mars.
Correct.
Um,
Callet, which is the
oh,
lizard dog, you might remember it as the really derpy thing that followed John Carter in the movie. It's the Martian dog, and yes, it does run that fast. Like if you've seen the movie, they are preternaturally fast. As in, they can run at like 100 miles an hour or something ridiculous like that. It's really funny looking. I like how they have to explain John Carter's love right here, but I guess it makes sense because it's kind of the driving point of the first three
Yes.
books.
I get to fuck red hot pussy. And she's
For a
8.
fun note, they lay eggs. All the Martians lay eggs. There's only like 2
I get
mammals on
I
Mars.
get to fuck red hot cloaca.
No, they got both.
Uh,
I think they got both. I don't think Edgar Rice Burroughs ever explained that. Thank God.
yeah, I don't think.
This
Yeah,
is not like
let's
Faerun. This
let
is not like Forgotten Realms where Ed Greenwood
it's like how
actually explained the mechanics for
yeah,
how drow breast milk tastes.
it's like it's like how I say like Star Wars. It's a sexless universe, but it's a romantic universe. There's gonna be romantic kissing. There's never gonna be full on sex scenes.
Oh, there's not sex scenes in here, but there's a lot of temptation.
Yeah, the romance, the lust, that kind of shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of lust in this, but it doesn't go
It
into hardcore. It doesn't go
yes.
hardcore. It doesn't go full gore.
Also, we do need to make clear the Barsoomian measurements.
Yeah, warning, this
So
book uses them, so you're going to need to know what they are. And by need to know, you're probably going to forget, and that's okay.
so it goes from uh
So for distances,
Sophod, which is
Sofat
like
is
a
the Martian
foot.
foot.
Odd is like
Martian yard,
10
also
feet.
comparable to the meter.
Yeah,
Well, kind of. It's basically like 3
3
meters.
meters. Yep. Hod, which is
I don't know
like
how to explain this one. It's probably comparable to the
three quarters
kilometer.
of a 3/4 of a mile. Actually, no, it's a little bit more than a mile. Like a 1 1/4.
No, no,
And
miles
then
are 5,000. This is half a kilometer.
a karad is
I
like
don't know how to explain this one. It's the
37
farthest point of
miles. It's just
measurement. Yeah.
yeah. And then time, a tal there, I guess second is 0.89 seconds, which I'm guessing is based on the gravity rotation of the.
It's because Mars has an extra 40 minutes to account for.
Yep. So yeah, basically second, minute, hour, day, month, year.
Also, Dunman's asking about Ed Greenwood. No, it's not that they have a taste for it. He actually described the taste of what a drow matriarch's breast milk would be like. Like, he actually went into detail about what it would taste like if, for whatever fucking reason, your party got their hands on it.
Hey, we gotta know. Every race got different milks.
Also, if you're wondering, an ord is a year, which I think actually inspired Transformers because I think there is a unit of time that sounds very similar to it called an
Wait.
orn.
As the resident Transformers fan here,
Or is it Vorn? I wouldn't be surprised if they are partially inspired by
it
at
would
least
have.
the naming conventions.
I know that. Well, there's the other thing about it. No one really knows what the fuck the time units are. Click, nanoclick, cycle. Let's see,
Astrosecond's
astro
another one.
minute, bream. Uh, they have an orn
Yep. And then Vorn, which
and a
is the
vorn,
much longer one. Yeah.
which was used in a Marvel comics. And let's see if
Well, as he's doing that,
eh,
this is the getting ready to play system. So the way the system works is there are two D20s. You should have at least two of them for the narrator and two for each player, and at least half a dozen D6s for the groups because this is the Modiphius system. It is converted more for combat rather than diplomacy in this one. And this is the big thing about this book. There are three different eras of play. The earliest of them is Mars untouched by Earth, the Dotar Sojat era. Dotar Sojat is the name of John Carter among the Green Martians. The reason he has this name is because in Green Martian society, you take up the names of those you kill. He had no name until he killed those two Green Martians and took their first names.
but wouldn't that have also meant that their first names weren't their first names? They had to kill somebody with that name?
They're given a title. Their first name is usually given to them as a courtesy, and that is why they are called OMAD or One Names until they kill another Green Martian to take their name. Also, if you're wondering where the original Klingon promotion came from, where you kill your commander, It probably comes from the Green Martians, because that is how you get promoted in their society. You can't really do
Hmm.
assassinations, although you could. They prefer going full out and just murdering them in
I'm
just
just wondering
glorious combat.
if one of the one if someone with a name in the Green Marsh side just drops dead of old age, as rare as it is, you're losing names. How are
Not
you gonna get more
quite.
names?
Not quite. So here's the thing about Martian ages. Due to the medicines on Mars, they're damn near immortal. However, a combination of war, not really disease, war, murder, because assassination is the largest crime on Mars. Theft is almost unknown, but assassination's quite high. And just other things. They usually don't reach 1,000 years. When they reach 1,000 years, they're supposed to go on a holy pilgrimage to the Valley Door, which is their version of paradise. It's essentially a permanent Mecca.
Though to spoil kind of what it is, uh, what does God have need with a starship?
Yeah, it gets interesting because the Gods of
If
Mars is Edgar Rice Burroughs' big shitpost on religion. He criticizes religion several times. He does this in another book with the Cult of Tur, which I don't think they mention in this book because it's not that important.
But that's the first era, so that's basically if you want just stranger in a strange land murdering green aliens.
Yeah. The Prince of Helium era is the first three books. This is the John Carter trilogy. And this is what Disney was really hoping they were able to pull off. That's why they had a bunch of sequel bait. There's the race of bald guys, the hooded guys with the blue eyes. They're from the second book, and they should not have been in the first book. If you're gonna reference them at all, what they probably could have done is kind of a very brief sequel bait, a la the Marvel movies at this point. That would have probably been a better choice. But the first three books is
So,
essentially John Carter upending the religion of the fucking planet.
also 9 years of undocumented adventures, which I always love when a setting gives just an era where you could do whatever you want.
Well, yeah, because John Carter lived among them for 10 years before there was the Great Atmosphere Plant Crisis. This is at the end of A Princess of Mars. He rules alongside his wife for 10 years because he does marry Deja Thoris eventually. That's why he's the Prince of Helium. He tries to stop the planet from dying because, well, essentially they need these atmosphere plants to keep the atmosphere going. He passes
And
out, manages to, and it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends with him basically staring forlornly at the planet, going, "Oh shit, is everyone dead? Is my wife dead? There's nothing left for me here anymore. I have all of this money, but it means nothing."
also, you gotta wonder, how did he not end up revealing to society? Yes, I've been to Mars and I had sex with with a woman. She laid an egg, and it's my boy, and
Well,
it's on the
he did
planet.
that with his nephew, who is legitimately supposed to be Edgar Rice Burroughs.
I'm not crazy. It's true.
Well, here's the fun thing. He then built a mausoleum that is only openable from the inside, so he can personally go up, stare at the planet to astrally project himself back to Mars. Although he doesn't quite do that until the second time he goes. Yes, Donmon, they do have atmosphere plants. Basically, so the history of Mars. Mars is a dying world. This is one of the first examples of the dying planet trope. Compared to Jack Vance's dying Earth, Mars is dying. It used to have oceans. They have dried up. The atmosphere is barely held together by science and possibly a bit of magic. Probably not. It's probably just science that's so advanced it looks like magic. It's fucked. This planet is fucked.
But then in the next section, after they're finally able to meet again, Carter become
You know,
the
after killing
unifying war,
God, he kills God. He kills the high priest. The high
and
priest's daughter makes a pass at him before she leaps to her death.
and becomes the God Emperor of Mars.
Well, King of Kings, Jeddak of Jeddaks. The Jeddaks of basically most of the planet rally around and declare him the greatest fucking warrior on the planet. And this is the later section of the book. This is actually where John Carter loses focus because the next book actually takes place following his son Carthoris. And then after that, another Earthman named Ulysses Paxton makes the appearance. I think he was a World War I soldier, if I remember it. I don't remember that one too well, but it has one of the most memorable villains in the form of the mad scientist Raz Thavas.
Oh
Then
yeah,
there's
because
the
it would have.
story of the Fighting Man of Mars, which was from a radio broadcast. There's the Swords of Mars, where John Carter goes to one of the moons of Mars, one of the little potatoes, where he meets the little guys and fights ape men. Then there is the big shitpost that is Lana of Gathol, which was Edgar Rice Burroughs at this point looking at all of his previous works and going, hey, you know, it'd be really funny is if I did a kind of big shitpost about all the stuff I wrote. It's basically one big wink and nudge at how the books went, because all of the stuff that happened in previous books, it's played up a little bit, kind of like they're in on the joke. It's a little meta, but without being blatantly so. It's really funny.
Hmm.
And then he couldn't write anything else, so his son published John Carter of Mars, which is like 2 stories, one of which is his own that he tried to pretend was his dad's, but it's very clearly not, since it sucks in comparison.
Then,
And then the Skeleton
unfortunately,
Men, which ended on a cliffhanger.
and then he died.
I mean, it's like the last book that came out after he died. He had a really storied writing career. I think being able to write
80
that many
novels.
stories.
80 novels, dying of a heart attack at the age of 74.
Also, if you like Barsoom, he wrote 11 of them. Well, 10 and a half. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good
There's
book
also
series.
there's also a whole bunch of comics.
There's a lot of comics. There's the Del Rey ones. Marvel had a run. DC had a run. I think Dynamite had a run. Some of them
But
vary in quality, but there's a
yeah,
lot.
let's get into now, how would you create a character?
Which is kind of important to know, because if you want to rampage around Barsoom, just slaughtering everything as is your want and desires, you have to know how to do this.
So they give examples of general concepts. Your wandering princess, a reformed assassin, an airship raider, a scientist, a warrior, lost explorer.
So, okay, the term Panthen is the Martian word for mercenary. I don't know why they don't explain that. They just kind of
Well,
use
they
it
do. They
without.
do. I mean, they literally say right after a Martian soldier for hire.
True, but that should have probably been in glossaries, because pantheons are kind of important. A lot of stories involve a lot of mercenary companies are common on
I
Mars
mean,
because there's
I'm gonna
always a
be
lot of
honest.
wars.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I saw a Panther, I thought it's like a tribe, a city.
Nope, it is a man who basically has a blank medal. It's similar to the Warhammer Black Shields among the
Ah,
Death Watch, where you get rid of your city identity and basically serve as a warrior for hire. You see that chest medallion in the center?
hmm,
Basically, that is where you identify. That is where you identify your city loyalty, or tribal loyalty if you're a green man.
hmm.
Was this the first influential isekai story? NDR asks. I actually think so. It might be one of the
M-
first.
Influential, maybe. Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, the
yeah.
difference is he didn't die.
Well, he actually kind of does, because if you're wondering, whenever he astrally projects, his body on Earth is corpse-like. That's why he built the mausoleum.
Wait, hold on. He's astrally projecting. How was he able to have a child?
Don't think about
How
it.
is he threatened?
Don't think about it. By the end of it, John Carter actually kind of is more than human, and he might
Oh,
actually be immortal. It gets weird. It gets really weird after the first
cool.
book.
So step two now is rolling for your stats. It's a four through. It's a 1 through 12.
So yeah, the minimum is any character worth a shit would have it. Anything above 8 is considered insane. And the way it works is, let me double check, because it's been a while since I haven't played a 2D20
Also,
system in like 5
yeah,
years.
closing straw is right that Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland technically would be.
True, you are right. Peter Pan beats it, and that is like a literal example of isekai, especially since in the original books it was basically the Lost Boys were what was it? Unbaptized babies, or was boys who went lost and basically died?
Oh, oh, that
Because
puts a darker turn.
I mean, it's a little bit hinted, because the concept in it is boys are much more prone to mischief because they're prone to explore, while girls have enough common sense to not try to leave the house or get out of the pram to explore. That's why they're lost. They basically went homeless, and this little eternal child that can never grow up, Peter, kind of brings them in.
Hmm. But so I believe, yeah, you split your attributes up between cunning, daring, empathy, might, passion, and reason.
Yep, it's a 6 stat line system. It uses just a different kind of measuring. Oh yeah, Peter Pan did kidnap those children. You're probably right, closing straw. Among the races, at least in the initial splat, you could pick green Martians, red Martians, Earthborn, aka Jasumians, the Firstborn. So if you want to play a black Martian, we was the first race and shit, you could. And the Okar, which that's an interesting choice. Okarians are the yellow Martians of the poles, North Pole mainly. Actually, only the North Pole. And they actually don't. They're important in the third book, and that's kind of about it. Like
Uh,
when they go back to the
yeah.
North Pole, it doesn't even have the villain be another yellow Martian. It's actually a red Martian city.
Also, uh, just to spoil,
Yeah,
Martians are
spoiler alert for a 100-year-old book, so look away now.
so yeah. Turns out those that die are actually perpetuated by the Black Martians.
So, no, it's even more fucked up than that. So, the Black Martians have a race of white Martians that basically they have gaslit into thinking themselves as the holy priests of Isis. I'm
Wait,
not
wait,
even
wait.
kidding. It's a religious scheme on
They
top of a religious scheme.
they tricknology the White Martians.
They technologied the surviving white Martians of the South Pole, which are the Holy Therns. They call themselves holy because they see themselves as a divine race that essentially live like godlings, servants to Isis, the biggest god of all, the true god, the Holy Mother. She who is the mistress of life and death, mother of the greater moon, daughter of the lesser no daughter of the lesser moon, mother of the greater moon.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
surprised
not
no one
even kidding.
went up. Wait, wait. Ice? You mean ISIS? You mean that Egyptian fella?
Possibly. I
That's
think
what.
that's where the
What do
term
you?
came
What do
from
you?
because of the
What do
holy
you
river
mean a?
Is.
Yeah. What do you mean Egyptian?
There is only one river on Mars, and it is the river Is. It's one of the only points of land that actually still have water, and
So
basically
it's.
a lot of Mars irrigates it.
So if we wanted to glorantha this, they're technically worshiping a storm deity
Kinda. But it's really
or
funny
a sea.
because they consider themselves holy, and then in reality, they're but pawns to another group of idiots that see themselves as holy, all being manipulated by this beyond ancient scheming old woman.
So at the end of the day, it was the fault of a woman.
Don't worry. There's a sequel. There's a sequel that criticizes religion, which is actually a big shitpost on religion versus philosophy, because there are these two cities that are at war with each other. One being a font of science and knowledge, but with no ethics. The other being full of morality, but rejects science and philosophy to the point where there are flat earthers on Mars. I mean, they're flat Martians. Flat Martians, I should say.
It's the light rays aren't existing. It's the dome that protects us.
They think
But
that
the other
Mars is actually a discus that their god Tur threw out of his forge on the sun. So the weird thing is they think that they do believe in heliocentrism. They just think Mars is flat.
odd. The other thing, though, all Martians are telepaths. Now,
This
they
was
do
basically an
communicate.
excuse to explain why John Carter was able to learn the language so quickly. The Martians do have psionic powers.
Yes, and it can be learned, but it's not like they're completely telepathic. They still speak, but it makes lying and hiding emotions on Barsoom difficult,
So remember
encouraging.
how in Degenesis they had all of the Africans degenerate into Ooking and Eking?
Yes.
Kind of like that, but with a language, because the idea is your telepathy emphasizes as you speak the word, the telepathic influence determines basically the accent. Like they have a lot of words that mean
Yeah.
the same thing, but the little psychic ping that you get from it adds the meaning. It's similar to how in several languages there actually isn't a singular form of brother or sister. They just use the word brothers or sisters. Or how some languages do not have a gender neutral meaning at all.
Hmm. And so
Or how some languages don't even have a word for no. There's a couple languages that don't have a word for no.
so it's like a universal translator in a sense.
Somewhat.
Um, so let's see.
It
Then the
starts
Red
with the Red
Martians.
Martians, and that is not Deja Thoris. That's the eponymous
That's
character they made for it.
that's just a Red Martian.
I think she
Um,
might be based on the warrior lady from I don't think was it a Fighting Man of Mars?
let's see.
I
Plus
don't
two
remember
to
where she came
either
from, but they played around with that sort of stuff.
yeah, daring, empathy, passion, or reason, and plus two to any others.
That makes sense
Oh,
because the Red
also,
Martians are the civilized lot, so they tend to believe in a lot of things like that.
they don't grow facial hair.
No, they do
Having a
not.
beard is a superpower.
Traditionally, they do not. In my in my Friday night game where I run basically D&D through the lens of Barsoom, I kind of just shrugged that off. They don't have beards. I just kind of said, "Fuck it, why not?" Some of them can grow it. It's mostly yellow Martians who can grow beards. I kind of went with the idea of they can grow it, why can't they? So,
Also,
what do you know as a
given
Red Martian? You speak the common language, you know your nation and its neighbors. You've likely heard of the great cities of Helium and Zodanga, even if you don't hail from there. If you're wondering, Helium and Zodanga are like the Athens and Sparta of the great. They're kind of inspired by Greco-Persian sort of architecture. Helium is Athens as Zodanga is to Sparta, but with a lot more
y-
intrigue elements because they actually
let's see,
have one of the most powerful assassins guild on the planet.
you know the basics of self-defense.
Well,
You
yeah, every
operate
Martian can
basic
fight.
machinery, and you can fly most vehicles and ride train mounts. These basically supposed to be the Americans.
No, they're supposed to be kind of the civilized example in the Princes of Mars book. A lot of it is it's similar to Dances with Wolves, where you're kind of raised by a native tribe. This would be the equivalent of the frontiersman that you can run back into. Speaking of which, Green Martians, these guys are great. They are anywhere between 12 to 16 feet tall. They weigh a few hundred pounds, which by Martian standards means that they're really heavy. They are also one of the few things that can actually go toe to toe with an Earthman, at least in terms of strength. Not perfectly, but they're one of the few.
Like all green races, subtract one from empathy or reason. Add two to might. Add one to either cunning, daring, or passion.
Green Martians do have their own passions. They're a cold and cruel race, but that doesn't mean they're incapable of other higher emotions.
They also get a talent for using forearms in combat.
Well, yeah, they can actually use. If you're wondering, the funny thing is their second set of arms they can also use as legs, so they can crawl on the ground.
Ooh.
They're
Then we
also
have
sharp shots with rifles usually.
the Okar. They now live in the far north in dome cities protected by the frozen climate.
I like that they actually depict her with the hooked sword and the curved buckler because that is their
Is that
unique weapon.
oh interesting. So they got more of a European medieval kind of aesthetic?
They also are the only ones that traditionally can grow facial hair, if I remember right.
Oh, so they're Vikings.
They also wear furs. They wear furs when outside. Inside, they dress more like this. It is an interesting fact that this is the race that actually gave John Carter the hardest fight in his life because they are the best swordsmen, arguably, on the planet. At least some of their elder statesmen are some of the best warriors on the planet. They're
Then we
also
have
rather expert technical. They're also very skilled in terms of engineering.
Earthborn. And I do like this comment here. They will look somewhat strange and alien regardless of their Earthborn background. An African American is not black like a firstborn, nor is a Native American red like a red Martian.
That's
Only
true.
rare white Martians somewhat resemble Caucasians of Earth, but even then, there are notable differences, such as the hairlessness,
Yeah,
which
Martians tend to not have body hair.
which that's a really good way to center this world in that this is the world of the Martians. This is not a world of humans. You look fucking different.
Yeah, because when they say you're a black man of Earth, your skin is still dark brown. A firstborn's skin is black like the black keys of a piano, like dark ivory black, pitch Vanta black.
Oh God, imagine a Vanta black species. Just
Like Native Americans, their skin sometimes has a bit of a bronze texture. When I say bronze, no, I don't mean like bronze tan skin. I mean like bronze is in the metal bronze, bronze to red.
and let's see.
Also, the white
Uh
Martians, the other thing that'll throw them off, if you have any hair other than blonde, white Martians were all blonde haired and blue eyed.
oh
So if you have black hair,
oh
that,
oh this he's oh good on you, bro. That is a subtle dig.
oh yeah, because remember, in Gods of Mars, they were treated as slaves, essentially. Like, they thought they ran the institutions, but in reality, they were just levies. And here's the firstborn. Here's an excellent example of what they look like. And yes, this guy has a gold-plated rifle.
Also more purplish.
Eh, Black is pretty difficult to depict in
Yeah, that
art.
is. Yeah, no, I know that from my miniature painting. It's
They use purple mainly to kind of show that off. It's also, notice that he's covered in gold and purples. This is because the firstborn essentially. Okay, so hear me out. Among the other Martians, they are called the Black Pirates of the Lesser Moon
oh, they're
because
from.
they're not. They're actually from Mars, but they make it look like they go up and down from the moon to raid.
They are technologists.
They are very cunning, and they basically each race is really good at fighting. It's a
But in a
hard
different
fight
way.
between the black or yellow Martians, which one has the better sword masters. Because John Carter has struggled with both, although I would argue that the yellow swords master that watched over the Great Magnet was probably the most dangerous thing that John Carter ever fought.
Also, funny
Because
enough,
he actually basically almost lost. I think he had to basically win by cheating.
the first says here the firstborn mated with the Okar to birth the first red Martians.
Not just them, but but white Martians as well. It's basically they're a
Because
mix of all three, but these two, yeah. Also,
because
interesting fact: the game of Jatan is based on their wars because the Black Martians tended to come from the southern half of the planet, while the Yellow Martians came from the northern. So, unironically, them intermingling, that's essentially them hate fucking. Or in this case, setting bygones be bygones and trying to save the planet.
But then after we select our race, we'll select the archetype, which is you'd be like an airship officer, an assassin, or as known as a Gorthan.
Yep, Gortham is the Martian term for assassin. You don't see a ton of them in the early books. This is more of a later book thing. In particular, Swords of Mars deals with it because a major point of the plot is that so in the first book, A Princess of Mars, spoiler alert, oh no, Zodanga gets dominated by helium because of John Carter. Why? Because their prince decided to try to marry Deja Thoris, which was a fucking lethal mistake.
You don't get to marry my waifu.
So
She's my Radusi.
you're joking, but John Carter got so fuck mad, and because the other thing is he couldn't kill him. So what happened was he basically went back to his good buddy Tars Tarkas, managed to convince him to kill the evil Jeddak of the Tharks, which is oh god, my brain's falling apart.
It's the
Talhajus,
Jeddak of the
Talhajus.
it's the Jeddak of the Tharks. We all know who that is.
Well, you don't because in the movie, here's the dumb thing.
I I,
So
I know I'm making a joke out of here.
no, but here's the dumb thing. In the movie, they have Tars Tarkas as the leader of the tribe already. He wasn't in the books. In fact, the entire point of his arc was he becomes leader because he's a more compassionate soul. And the only reason is John Carter rekindled it. Because in the story, what happened was, as a very young warrior, Tars Tarkas fell in love with another Green Martian. Both of them have something that the others did not have because, for whatever reason, despite the strong eugenics program that Green Martians have, this woman was capable of empathy. She was born with it, unlike iDubbbz. And she taught compassion to this guy. They fell in love. They actually went against the weird breeding system that they had and tried to raise a little daughter in secret. She gets caught, and he's terrified of what's going to happen because the guy running this tribe would totally kill and do horrible things to both his wife and his potential child. So he tries to Klingon promote himself all the way up to the top. That doesn't happen. She gets killed, and he thought the daughter's egg was destroyed. So he basically goes into a depressive rut until John Carter reminds him of what compassion is. And then reveals that his daughter was alive all along. It was the Green Martian woman that took care of him.
Aw.
Which has Tars Tarkas go kill the Jeddak, become their king, and then he rallies a couple of other small tribes by bribing them with loot, and they sack the fucking shit out of Zodanga. It was a massacre. But the Swords of Mars, basically, there are nationalists who really hate being dominated by helium. And they turn to the assassin societies that were very popular in Zodanga in the old days.
Hmm.
This is also the one
But
where John Carter goes to the moon. Not our moon, the
which
Martian moon.
aren't there? But there's more than one Martian moon.
I forget which one it is. It's the one with the Tarides, which they don't mention in this because I don't blame
Eh,
you. You're not gonna probably go to the. They'll explain it in the cosmology probably.
But they do. The other characters you play as a Beastmaster, as we can see, the elephant creature with multiple
That's a
eyes,
Zitidar.
multiple tusks.
That is a
Because
Zitidar.
as we all know, the best way to show off different alien species have multiple appendages.
Well, I mean, so they're. I hope they show what a banth because I showed what they are. You know that lion that was in the thumbnail?
Yeah,
That's a banth. That's why they're called Martian lions. By the way, they have a mane, but they have no fur. It's all sleek reptilian skin.
yeah. Let's see. But else, you've got the duelist, the envoy, the explorer, the fugitive.
Criminality in Mars, you're not usually going to be a thief. Thievery is practically unknown. It's to the point where Martians, if there's not a threat of assassination, they're the type of people that would leave their houses unlocked.
Oh,
How,
so that they run on the Elder Scrolls system of uh, law.
well, it's because theft is practically unknown. However, do you want to know what their defense mechanism usually is in most of the modern
S-
cities? Their cities,
Slavery.
well, besides slavery, their houses can actually rise up to 50 feet on mechanical steam pillars. And this is so that no one can sneak in to murder them, because that's the main crime that happens in Barsoom. Assassination is much more popular. Because why steal when you can just kill a man and take their shit, you know?
Who's gonna who's gonna fight you?
Oh no,
Police?
you won fair and square, especially if you can trick them into a duel. Or just silently strangle them. But yeah, slavery is very common on Mars. Not every city practices it. Helium, for example, didn't. Zodanga actually, I don't think did either. I think that what they did instead was like something like a Corvi system where you spent a few months out of the year, but you weren't a slave other than that.
But then we have others, gladiators,
Blood sports are very
guides.
popular on
Yep.
Mars. Even the Red Martians practice it, although it's not as violent as the
It
Reds, as the
it
Greens.
basically it's like Dark Sun.
Oh yeah, well actually, Dark Sun is heavily inspired. Oh, this reminds me, Gary
Oh,
Gygax.
a fucking course.
Gary Gygax actually tried to make a minis game based on Barsoom, but got in trouble with the Burroughs estate and wasn't. He released it in '74. It lasted maybe a year before lawsuits pulled it from the market.
Yeah, but Burroughs actually apparently when he was gonna make his first story, he was told that um, you know, the that basically will the publisher will own all the rights of your work. He's like, wait a minute. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna keep the rights to the character, but you can have the rights to publish it. And that's how he was able to retain the copyright of the entire concept of John Carter.
Yeah, his son was really known to abuse it quite a bit.
Let's see. Guides, healers.
Healers are they're not like healers. They're not herbalists. They're actually like accomplished surgeons.
Hmm.
Fun fact: in
That
olden times, Martians used to embalm their dead. A medical embalmer was sometimes so good at his job that they could rise from the dead thinking they were still alive. Like the body actually forgot it was dead.
oh wow.
This happens in Lana of Gathol, where several dozen Martians that were perfectly preserved for like a million years rose from the fucking grave. Panthans, which are
Um,
mercenaries, obviously.
yep. Rogues,
So
scientists.
here's the thing: thievery, like just common theft, not common. Banditry and brigandry and highwaymen style shakedown tactics, though, much more common.
Then we have your soldiers and spies.
Spies being very common. This also leads to a lot of very funny moments. Let me tell you about the time that John Carter actually did what the former Canadian Prime Minister did and went into blackface. He has done
Oh,
this at least twice.
I can explain.
Well, yeah, he had to sneak into the Firstborn Society. He's done this with Red Martians and Yellow Martians as well. Like a very common thing in the books are you legitimately they have pigment dyes to essentially what because as you get older, particularly women in their society, men too. Some of the vain men do this too. They have little makeup kits that allow them to address blemishes that occur as age goes on, or to hide scars. Although they usually show those
Hmm.
off,
Um, then they do give abilities to create new archetypes.
which
They
is
give us the
useful.
talent.
Well, why not skill? Competency is presumed in John Carter. Basically, they assume you're not stupid. If a
You kind of
character
can't be
should
on
not have the
Barsoom.
skill for a particular task, it's either deemed impossible or more difficult. Narrators and players wishing for more guidance on what skills a character has can each have a player write down the highlight several skills that they probably would have. Like a mercenary, for example, probably at least knows the basics of running an organization, if especially if they were a former officer. They should know how to fight with most of their weapons. They should know how to maintain their equipment, right? They should maybe know a little bit about contract law. That's what the what you know is supposed to represent. Like these are things that you could write down just so that you know.
And then we get, finalizing names, concepts, attributes. Um,
What core equipment you
and
would get because each archetype would have over equipment flaws. All heroes have a bit of a flaw, like heroic fury or self-sacrificing or soft-hearted. Basically, it's supposed to be a flaw that represents your because at the end of the day, you're kind of a romantic hero in a very very sci-fantasy setting.
so your flaw, it's not like a flaw in the World of Dark Sense where it's like addiction, something like that. It's
I
a
mean, you could make yourself
narratively.
a tragic Byronic hero. That would be
Hmm,
perfectly viable. Like you could play them up as like an opioid addict.
let's see. But
But at
next
the end of
up,
the day,
then
you're supposed to play larger than life, either heroes or blackguards, because you can also just play like a complete asshole. Like you could go full cartoon villain. Why not? You're not
and then
expected to, but you know.
we do have then our talents.
Well, before then, just very quickly for names, don't worry too hard. There's only a couple of very loose rules. Red Martians, as long as it's 2 syllables, it can be whatever the hell you want. Yellow Martians, they tend to have double L's in their names somewhere. Firstborn tend to like X's in their names, in particular at the beginning, and Earthborn, well, you know. And if you're wondering what Green Martian names are like, they usually just take names that they took from other people. Just to give you a quick idea. And this is the walkthrough, which we don't have to go through. This is just useful because it
Mm.
shows you how it works.
Then they give us a list of talents for stuff to do. Like they
Oh,
even get
I love this
acrobatic
art where you see the
dodge.
Earthman literally akimboing as he's leaping from that looks to be is that a 20-man flyer? I think that might be a
He's
20 to 50
he's
man flyer.
he's akimboing in in the air.
He's literally no, it's even better. He's jumping off because he's going to board the rival ship to fight it. Because that is something you can do in the game. Like, remember, as Earthmen, you have superhuman abilities to fucking jump.
Yeah, acrobatic dodge.
Oh,
Uh,
that's fantastic. I love that little. I love this little art piece. I also love the choice on how they made the. I also like the choice on how they made the ships, at least somewhat.
yeah, almost like a gunship, but also kind of like a aquatic thing with the fins.
It has an element of spacecraft, an element of cruiser like a yacht, and an element of just fantasy. Like you have those little finials.
Which feels so Star Wars.
Well, yeah, because look, you can see the light machine guns just blasting. By the way, here's a fun fact: all those explosions? That's because Martian bullets are explosive like bolters. They have little grams of what they call radium, but it's actually a
Wait,
highly reactive substance that's covered in
radium?
black paint. Yeah,
Uh, that's
radium
the
is the core
rifles.
element in its ingredient.
No, that's the rifles that the Skitarii use in Warhammer.
Yep, yep. And the way
Of
they work is it's a little black ovoid sphere.
also apparently that's also the term for the radiation rifle in Fallout.
Well, because the main ingredient of the explosive powder is radium. When it fires and impacts something, the paint shell cracks, the little ceramic paint shell cracks, and when sunlight is exposed to this compound, it explodes. Here's another fun fact about Martian firearms. Their rangefinders are insane, as in, a Martian sniper can hypothetically dome you from 100 miles away. Hypothetically.
No, if they didn't murder each other, they could have taken over the entire system.
They also had an attempt to make their own spaceship, but the problem is it went horribly wrong. You can actually still find it floating among the stars, at least in low orbit around Mars, because they put too much
Oh,
floating gas in it.
but look after the talents though comes how the dice works in this system.
Which I think is a bit important to know because it's been a while. Might as well remind people of how the 2D20 system works. If you ever want to play a game of Fallout using the proper system rather than a kit bash, Modifius has it. If you want to ever
Yeah,
play a Star Trek game, Modifius
there
has
is a.
one.
I will say this for the fallen. There is a splat that brings us back to New Reno for all the
Good
classic
choice.
Fallout fans.
It's still a little too Fallout 4-brained, but that's a good choice.
Yeah, that's what the franchise is unfortunately going to be. But hey,
And Fallout 4 is not awful. It's not like the worst thing in the world.
but
It's mid, but
yeah,
I'm okay
yeah,
with mid. You can do a lot with it.
it it's mid, but it's also the same universe where again you can get your brain removed and then hit on your brain,
Correct.
as in try to seduce it,
By the way, that's something that happens in this book series too, although not the brain
or
seducing part.
or as we found out through a recently leaked beta version of Fallout New Vegas, you could try to seduce Mr. House, the guy stuck in a institute-like device or cryogenerator, obsessed with snow globes and trying to rule over the remains of Vegas to turn into a capitalistic paradise.
That's one of the choices of all time. I I, I don't know how I feel about that because it feels like something they could have kept in and it would have been funny.
Yeah, but still,
Also, if you're wondering, yes, brain swapping is something that can happen on Mars. It's the big plot of the mastermind of Mars.
get it?
So yeah, 20-sided dice. This is the most common thing that they use. It's abbreviated
That's
as
so
blah blah blah.
resolving attributes. My guess is it's you roll the d20s, try to roll under.
What? Okay, so the way that the Modiphius system works, because I'm now remembering how it works, is you try to roll under your attributes.
Makes sense because if you have a higher number, easier to succeed. The other point is combat dice. When rolling a combat dice, ignore results of 3 to 4. 1 and 2 have normal values, and 5 to 6 are effects.
Yep, because they have their own proprietary dice. Because hey, proprietary dice allows the company to make more money. Star Wars Edge of Empires, Star Wars, what is it? Dawn of the Rebel. Edge of Empires, I forget
The
the other
the
two.
the the Fantasy Flight ones.
Yeah, Edge of
That's why.
Empires uses it. I forget the other names of the two.
Also, uh, NDR. What would House do? He was basically going to try to replicate you and probably make yourself into like one of the Securitrons. Like, remember, he's got those. He had that
I'm just
one female
envisioning that.
Securitron.
I'm just envisioning that. That's cursed.
Listen, I'll get it. I'll drop it in the Discord.
Yeah, which I should have a link to. The link should still work, because every now and again, if you just get a new Discord link, it just kind of makes a new one. It should link to ours
Yeah.
though.
And
But yeah,
so yeah,
basically what you do is you combine your two attributes. This is why the system is kind of really neat. You just combine the attributes you need for the roll, and if you roll under, you're good.
the other thing though is if you roll a 20, you get a complication, which
And if you're wondering what the XD20 counts for, basically that's how many chances you have to succeed. It's 2d20 because you usually have two shots. That's where the term
which
comes
yeah,
from.
yeah. So
Complications because unfortunately
because if you
modern
think because if you
table.
think
Oh, sorry.
because if you sorry because if you think about it here, you have a daring of 5. Uh, you have a what would it be 1/4 of a chance to
Well,
succeed.
it's not just a daring of 5. You combine another one. Like
Oh,
let's
you
say you're
combine
trying
two.
to woo. Let's say you're trying to woo a princess of a planet. You combine daring and passion to woo them with your ability to just kind of be brave. Your number's 8, and you have at least two chances to roll under 8. And if you get like a 7 and a 12, the 7 counts, the 12 does not.
Uh, I like that.
And as for what the difficulty settings are, because you can add difficulty settings, that determines how many successes you need. Averages, usually you just need 1. Challenging is 2. Daunting is 3. And it's really simple. Once you understand the 2d20 system, it's actually not that bad.
And then we have opposed tests, which perform the attribute. Whoever gains the greatest quantity of momentum
Yep.
succeeds.
Also, some things you can just kind of do because you can. Like, you can just do it.
You also can choose to voluntarily fail to be more dramatic, and uh, do so. You get what was it? The player pays the narrator 1 point of threat, as opposed to the 2+ threat points potentially
This is
added
the
by
weakest part
complications.
of the system. By the way, we skipped complications. If you're wondering how that works, 20 is the equivalent of a botch. If you get a
Yep.
20, that's a complication. So, like, let's say I'm rolling like 3d20, right? I get one success, like, hey, I succeeded. And I only needed 1 for the average, but oh shit, I rolled a 20. Well, you managed to succeed in picking the lock, but what happened was one of the guardsmen saw you. Simple as.
I do think the other thing to play off is there's also then momentum, where if you get more successes than you need, you basically can use that to be saved for later.
You can stockpile it. By comparison, though, the storyteller, the DM, the GM has an inverse version called threat. Basically, you can choose to give them threat to get a success earlier. Like, let's say you fail and like you're screwed, right? Like you can't like everyone's
Mm,
tried to move on to the plot.
mm.
Everyone failed their dice rolls. The GM can give you an opportunity to succeed, but they have the ability to take a threat, which allows them to either add a fuck you die to the result, force a complication on one of your rolls later on, and they can just kind of bank that. The story
But then
path
you can,
system does this too, but I think with Modifius it works a little better since it's kind of intrinsically part of the system.
because here's the thing: if threat's growing, you could then use your momentum, and narratively, that's you being inspired or going beyond the, you know, what you thought possible.
Also, it's sort of a tit for tat. Basically, something that commonly happens is if you use your momentum, sometimes I believe you give the DM the equivalent in threat.
Then when it comes to combat, you get action scenes, it's determined initiative, you choose to seize the initiative. that you might be able to have, you know, grids to determine
So
moving
rounds do not
range,
have a
or just do
fixed
it.
duration.
Yeah.
They don't. You take a single
Although
turn during each round, and you have a number of options in the form of different actions.
although uh, Modivi's is kind of remind us that in fact they manufacture a range of high quality John Carter miniatures for the game,
Yes, they do, and I link to their store on the web. I link to their store in the description because you
which
can not
also
only get a
include.
PDF, they still have a few of the actual physical copies left. And at the time I found it, they were on sale. You could get a $60 book for like 18 bucks.
And I believe they still have the STLs for stuff, and also they sell the Fallout and Elder Scrolls. So yes, if you wanted to paint yourself an entire army of NCR or Legions or Brotherhood of Steel in anticipation of Fallout, the TV show season 2, go ahead and give them money.
And if you're not interested, what you can do instead is you can make your Fallout character get isekai to Barsoom. Why not? Or alternatively, you could do the Skyrim shitpost where they wake up in the wagon or outside of Helgen.
Ah, you're finally awake.
You could do
Are you
either.
are you finally awake, tall green creature? You a Taseki by any chance?
I'm just now envisioning
Some
Tars
some
Tarkus on.
strange Ornsmear cursed even more than Melkath?
I'm just now envisioning Tars Tarkus on Nirn, and it's hilarious.
Or the Fallout one where it's the Enclave
Well, I mean, if
are
that's on Earth,
are
the Tars Tarkus would struggle. Martians
well
they lack
well
the
no,
ability.
I was gonna say the Enclave um tried to flee because the whole theory that they were building a spaceship to leave for another planet. It crash lands on Mars, and both sides come to the realization, oh, both of our planets are fucked.
That could
Let's
actually
go
be
fight
really
each other
fun.
for it.
There's also concepts known as abstract zones and how zones work, distances. These are
It's
all basically.
basically, yeah. It's, are you going to use combat with miniatures with, you know, a standardized setting, or are you going to just theater of the mind it?
Sometimes theater of the mind is better, but yes, you could hypothetically, and I don't think it would ever do well, but you could hypothetically do a Martian miniatures game. I think you could do some really fun stuff with it because I mean,
Probably a
it's a
skirmish.
literal war planet.
You definitely do like a narrative skirmish.
Oh yeah, I could see doing something akin to Necromunda with this, especially since there's a lot of ruined cities on Mars.
Oh, very, yeah.
There's a
Maybe
lot of
more of a
ruined cities on
Mordheim
Mars.
or Malifaux. Something that's more emphasis on the heroes than the troops.
So I don't know what abandoned city this is
Um,
supposed to
but
be, but that is a thoat, if you're wondering. That weird reptile lizard dragon thing? That's a thoat. That's
looks like a
basically a Martian
looks
horse.
looks like what I would call a Sleipnir.
Yep, it has 8 legs. They did kind of mess up its design since it's supposed to actually have a different colored underbelly. Oh no, they have an underbelly, but the legs are supposed to be also on a gradient. There's a little bit of a cock up there, but that's fine. It's fine.
Um,
For sake of simplicity of design, it's fine.
yep. Then they give us actions, and funny enough, they have separate spoken action. If it's a speech of any kind, it's a conflict action. If it's supposed to be like a short quip, then it's a spoken action. I kind of like that. My guess is that in the books, when they're fighting, they often do this kind of
Oh, there is
quips or
banter.
okay, so the mechanics for banter, I like that.
There is banter because in one such occasion, John Carter. This is in Princess of Mars. He meets Tars Tarkus essentially getting attacked by an entire horde of a different tribe, and back to back they basically fight together. And this happens at the beginning of Gods of Mars, where he says, "John Carter, what are you doing here? I have come to seek death, and it seems that it is true. You've come here for death." Like like they actually do quit. Like it's not like all the time, but every now and again they will talk to each other. A favorite one of mine is when it looks hopeless. Tars Tarkus just comments, "It's not hope. It's not over yet. So long as a Thark keeps his head in hand, the battle can still be won today." Like it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
just heroic trash talking.
But then we got movement actions, these conflict actions,
Also, that's a
the
pretty
free
good looking
actions,
white ape.
making
The only
attack.
thing they got wrong is that, so fun fact, the white apes do not have shocks of white hair, if I remember right. I think originally they were supposed to be similar to John Carter's hair, so dark.
Hmm.
I could be wrong though.
And then other things you can use momentum to
Oh no, no,
roll
the
extra.
way the hair was like John Carter's hair. That's why.
Yeah, I do like this with momentum. You can spend it to roll extra damage or send their weapon flying. Three
Well,
points
yeah,
momentum can send an enemy's weapon flying to where an ally might get it. 2 points to knock it to your feet. That
yeah, momentum's really useful. The idea is you're encouraged to use momentum to further improve effects, guarantee successes, and the point of threat is that the GM kind of uses it to counter it and or to punish you if it looks like you're
also
doing too well.
closing straw. Mad Max of Mars. Now there's an idea.
I'm just
Except
envisioning. I'm
except
just.
instead of it's just Mel Gibson. What do you hope to accomplish, Detrathorn? You're sitting there with the cloaca. I made it. I deserve
No,
to be blown in the floating jacuzzi first.
I
I'll
am.
vent
I
the
am Jedek.
atmosphere.
I am Jedek Humongous. No one need to die tonight. Just walk away. Just walk away.
See? See? Jeddak Mungus rules this land. Uh,
I could see there's elements of it in there. It's not.
yeah.
It's not that strong, but you could definitely do something with it.
This I like also when it comes to damage and recovery. Again, very much focusing on that narrative feel. Is that depending on the attribute you used, you either, if you used empathy or reason, the damage is confusion, daring or passion, fear, cunning or might, injury, which would be physical injury.
Yeah, I like how they split it up. It's kind of it's a little rough, but it works out well.
But the other thing I like about this, it means that no matter what kind of character you make, you always have an impact in combat. It's not like if you made, I don't know, like a bard or something like that, and you, or think about it, like let's say a wizard, or a mage, and you have used up all your spell slots in D&D, and you have nothing. You're basically useless. In this, you can use essentially like your wisdom or your intelligence stats to just confuse the enemy,
So, funnily enough, this is similar to Powered by the Apocalypse in that they don't die. What happens instead is they essentially suffer the equivalent of ego death, which happens more than you think in the books. Basically, a very common trick to win a fight is to essentially talk the opponent into making mistakes so that you can then kill them.
which is where the banter comes in.
You can trash talk, make fun of their martial courage, make fun of them for being a coward. Basically, you're trying to get them either fighting mad or going crazy. And that's what those other damage types are for. Afflictions. If a sufficient amount of confusion is inflicted, the afflictions are called madness. A
Which
character
increase the
suffering
difficulty
4 madness
of
is barely coherent. If you suffer 5 madness, it's blacked out, and you're either catatonic or fleeing as best as you can. Which, if you're curious, this is something you could also brutally exploit in Pathfinder, because most monsters are not immune to fear effects, unlike in D&D. So intimidate builds were very powerful in Pathfinder, as in you can actually make devils run for their fucking lives if you did it right.
but then we have the blacking out rule, which yeah, is essentially it's to be knocked out instead of, I guess, dying.
Yeah, because in many cases you don't die necessarily if you're defeated in combat, because there's a use for you if you're defeated.
Slavery.
Slavery. Another very common one is if you're actually a great fighter, what they'll do is they'll put you as a gladiator because they want to entertain people.
Let's see. Then we have the luck points used to pull off exciting stunts, dramatic situations,
Compared to fate
overcome
points,
weakness.
it's
Yeah,
basically a oh fuck, things are burning down.
It's your fate points. But then, now that we've gotten the base of combat over, weapons.
I love the look of the Martian weaponry because it has that mixture of musket, but also surprisingly retro-futuristic. Because look at those stocks on the rifles on those
I mean
carbines at the
that
bottom.
is yeah, no, that is the Warhammer aesthetic, especially for the Skitarii.
I love that
The
they added these weird little stocks.
the Radium Giselles. Oh, no, the Radium's I'm thinking of
Giselles, which is the type of musket that was popular in the Persian world.
believe it is the Galvanic rifle,
So historically,
which
Martian
looks
industry is concentrated on the requirements of warfare, survival, transport, and communication. Throughout the Dotar Sojat era, there are few advances in many of these areas. The products of Barsumian science are considered perfect and technological development stagnated. It,
wait a
because
minute.
hmm?
Wait a minute. Believing that prior civilizations' technology was perfect and therefore technological development doesn't need to well develop.
It should be noted that Barsum did slightly inspire Frank Herbert a little bit.
Also,
It
wait,
was not a main
Barsoom
influence, but it did
is
affect it.
Mars, and the Martians. Oh my God, they were responsible for creating Marvin the Martian.
Where is the earth-shattering kaboom? There should be an earth-shattering kaboom. A new age of invention follows, particularly in airship design and navigation, because so John Carter was a cavalryman. He was a gentleman cavalry officer in the Civil War and as a mercenary. He very much fell in love with flyers. He was obsessed and became a very big fan of airships.
Like autists with trains.
I mean, it's similar to a dude with a car. He just freaking loved them. On top of that, solitary masterminds and egotists experiment tirelessly, driven by ambition or jealousy or an obsession with pure science. These eccentric geniuses transgress the borders of the sensible and the sane. Their creations rise unpredictably to threaten Barsoom's complex antagonistic status quo and plunge the world into oblivion. Because the mastermind of Mars is also responsible for synthetic life forms. He literally
Oh,
wanted to perfect creation by making his own race of men,
wait,
which
wait,
are
wait, hold on. You could essentially call that redefining Martian kind. Fuck, Fallout took from this.
the
The
synthetic men.
Institute.
Yep, the synthetic men of Mars are essentially damn near impossible to kill. You could dismember them and they could just reattach. The only
Wait a
thing
minute,
that
that's the
really kills them
Cybermen
is
and the
fire.
Daleks.
The only thing that really kills them is fire.
How are the Necrons?
It culminates in a vat of grown synthetic man flesh, essentially going full Acura and requiring the Navy of Helium to bomb it to oblivion. Like imagine a giant cancer monster thing made out of like millions and millions of artificial cells rampaging through a dead city, and it takes an entire airship force to just bomb it into oblivion. That's how that book
Also,
ends.
I'm looking here at the radium rifle. Let's see. It says
Yep, for millennia,
radium
Barsoom's
rifle and
intelligent races
revolver.
that existed in a state of war. So melee weapons, there's a variety of them.
A minute particle of radium powder.
Yep.
Well, the radium weapons in 40K, they're just rad weapons that cause a localized radiation storm.
So both fire small caliber rounds. Each bullet is composed of an opaque outer casing and almost solid inner glass cylinder. At the tip of the cylinder is a tiny particle of radium powder, which is highly explosive when even exposed to the slightest bits of sunlight. When it strikes its target, the shell fragments, exposing the radium in the glass core. It then detonates with devastating consequence. Basically, imagine this thing firing micro grenades.
It's a bolt gun.
Yep.
That
Also, if you ever get shot by this and survive, especially in a night battle, you want to get that out of your body as quickly as you can because you can just die. You can actually survive the battle after getting shot, and at any point just die. Just die from the explosion because you just get unlucky and a bit of sunlight gets into the wound.
wait, why is sunlight bad?
it activates the compound. It's very reactive to UV light and explodes.
Uh,
You kind of skipped melee weapons. Most of these tend to
you know
be.
what I realized could help with this?
Hmm?
How about not being naked on the battlefield?
They do that because it's really hot on Mars during the day. Like we're talking on average for those of you who use Euro units, anywhere between the mid to high 30s to low 40s. For us, it's usually Arizona hot.
Oh.
Arizona to like Utah hot.
And how much water do they have on that planet?
Not a lot.
And I'm assuming they don't have still suits.
Not a lot. No, they don't. There is water from
Oh.
there is water from hydroponics, but that's about it. It's not
Yeah, they're all
quite
gonna die.
desiccated. But you kind of missed some weapons because they actually go into details about all of this. For
Melee
example,
weapons.
they longswords are mass produced for military units and handcrafted for individuals. Their designs vary a lot. Martian
Wait,
blades tend to be.
what is the metal they use?
Let's see. Do they clarify steel? They use a
Oh.
highly advanced steel alloy.
Hmm.
There are various forms, but the most common is the straight one-handed needle-like longsword. They are razor sharp, single-edged, and they are highly flexible. They seem to be a hybrid of the backsword and rapier. The design of the guard can be basket, cup, or ring-like. The pommels are often extremely ornate, bearing intricately jeweled designs. Red Martian blades tend to be about 47 inches long. Green Martian longswords are usually a bit longer, closer to 4.5 feet, or 4 to 5 sofads, basically. Nevertheless, any hero from a race smaller than the Green Martians must always fight with an awareness because a mistimed lunge it leaves you open.
Hmm.
There's other
I
types of
was.
weapons, though. The
Yeah.
Firstborn prefer scimitar-style weapons that are shorter
Yep.
but have a heavy guard.
The
Then
Okar
there are the
like their.
hook swords of the Okar, single-edged
Yep.
with a vicious hook at the tip. They're held in the left hand and used in conjunction with the Yellow Martian's double-edged straight swords, which is more like a stabbing gladius, but thinner.
Da- daggers. Everyone does prefer daggers. The
It
Green
is used to
Martians.
hook. It is used to deflect, disarm, or snag the opponent, rendering them off balance and vulnerable to a slash from the straight sword.
See. Green Martians like their
They are
spears.
also the
Okar.
Okarians are the only ones to use shields in the
Oh,
entire
hold on. Wait,
setting.
wait. The Kaloian Sith Spear.
The Kaolian Sith spear, yeah, this is a long fuck off lance that is laced with poison from the Sith.
I will be borrowing that for any time I'm going to need to use an ancient Sith weapon
It is
because that just
long.
sounds Star
It
Wars.
is highly toxic. By the way, if you're wondering, they are laced with the same venom of the insect because what they use it for is specifically to hunt Sith. This is a weapon. So
They
if you make it a Star Wars weapon, it is a weapon that was crafted by Sith alchemists to kill dark side users specifically.
well to kill and feed on their pain.
Yep. Uh, these spears, by the way, are made out of a steel aluminum alloy and measure essentially like 20 feet long. It is used to tip the spear since it's the only substance capable of killing them quickly enough to save their victims.
And let's see. When it comes to firearms, as we talked about with the radium
Oh, no,
rifle,
no. Look, in the book, the range of the Martian radium rifle is misreported in Carter's first manuscript. Basically, they didn't want you to be able to kill people 300 miles away. He suggests when equipped with wireless finders and sighters, the weapon has an effective range of approximately 200 miles. Later accounts omit this range, although the descriptions of the rifle remain consistent.
however, in the Jeddak of Jeddak's era, Ford Talk, a scientist, developed a rifle capable of firing three kinds of invisible rays. Depending on the ammunition selected, the rifle could disintegrate metal, wood, or human flesh. Obviously, an invisible laser gun is fucking terrifying.
I believe this was actually a weapon in the Swords of Mars, if I remember
And
right.
it would have destabilized the martial balance of Barsoom. Therefore, they destroyed all remaining stocks of the ammunition in the dead city of Johanna, though one or two may have survived.
There's also the very rare culture that still uses longbows, which were once used when Mars had oceans. The bowmen of Lothar are the only culture that still practice this tradition, at least knowingly.
Wait, Lothar. Where have I heard that name?
Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name?
Oh, that might actually be a real name.
But yeah, longbows exist. Optional rule: radium bullet detonation.
Ah,
They're explosive.
that's
There
comical.
are such things as incendiary devices, but a lot of weapons are considered. This type of weapon is considered dishonorable. Only Green Martians really use them, and even then, they don't. They mostly use it to breach walls. Using weapons like this on people, this is considered a disgrace.
Don't be a grenade throwing idiot.
The most important item of equipment for any Martian is the harness worn in place of clothing. Marsumians dislike covering their bodies unless the temperature or climate force them to. And
You see,
even
because they can breathe through their skin.
in most circumstances, they find shirts, tunics, gowns, and trousers restrictive and grotesque in their masking of the individual's natural health and vigor.
Oh no, so they're just
Well, also, again,
exhibition.
Mars is really hot, so they usually prefer to not wear clothing. Here's some examples. Martian harnesses are usually of leather, ornamented with precious stones, small metal plates, and badges of honor. Green Martians sometimes bear the body parts of fallen rivals or the feathers of extinct birds, passed from one defeated warrior to the next over generations.
They can also then literally just swap um, I guess the metal or the common accoutrements that would identify you from a city in the harness to be able to disguise yourself.
That's why spying is so popular on Mars. Because essentially it's considered a bit dishonorable because you're supposed to be proud of what you've done. That's what your harness is supposed to represent, all the stories of your life.
Hmm.
So if you get rid of the status of being a Dwar, oh yeah, we'll get into military ranks anyway, but Martian captain, that's what a Dwar is. Of a Dwar of Helium to just pretend to be like a Panthen from Dusar, that's kind of dishonorable, isn't it? You're also
But
throwing
we
away your reputation, but it's critical in war.
but we do have medicines such as the food pellets from vegetable milk,
Oh yeah, if
the
you're
flesh of the
wondering, milk
USA,
exists on the planet. You get it from a plant that kind of looks like a dandelion, but larger.
no breast milk.
They're
You're
ovu.
right, because they're ovul. Yeah. And what are the tits for? His sap?
I don't know, but medicines are very, very strong in the game. Martian selves are miraculous in their ability to heal flesh and prevent death. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's really hard
they
to
just have
die.
salves that can be used to instantly repair a wound infliction.
I mean, look. Unfortunately, you have a torn aorta, so here's some salve that'll fix you up.
The Robitussin of the future.
Torches and illumination devices. Some red and black Martians carry radium flash torches. Marsu-
You gotta like that that I guess at the time I guess flashlight wasn't used because I know
Flashlights existed, but
because the British pronunciation is to call them torches. I guess Burroughs carried that on.
well, it's also because at this point it was mostly lanterns. Like
Ah,
this is also the era that radium was not understood to be dangerous.
uh,
Remember, radium was used to make glow in the dark watches, so basically imagine like this glow in the dark like
that's
lantern.
why they're all dying. It's not because of the wounds, it's because of the cancer.
Don't worry, the medicine takes care of the Fossey jaw.
Yeah, actually, that might be.
Oh, you have stage 4 cancer. Well, here's some salve that'll fix that shit up.
But it's in my gallbladder.
Don't worry. Don't worry. And you just punch them. You just cover your fist in the salve and punch them right
Dude,
where their gallbladder is. I'm just now
oh,
envisioning like a really dumb Earthman medic that just like punches things back together because he uses his superhuman Martian strength to punch through the flesh to
listen.
put the salve
I
in it.
have taken the Hippocratic oath, but this will sting a bit.
punches the man so hard in the jaw he goes into a coma for 2 seconds to fix his brain tumor.
But congratulations, the stage 4 is gone.
Your glioblastoma is no more.
Um,
If you're
and then
wondering,
we've got
the torches are also they're not quite infinite, but they take almost forever to run out of its fuel.
yeah, and
Field
we got
glasses are
field.
highly advanced, some of them even having electronics.
Yep. We've got chronometers and invisibility spheres.
They spoiled the cities of the invisible men in this book. So yeah, in one of the books, John Carter has to deal with a race of invisible men.
Well,
And
I mean, they're invisible. They're not unknowable or unspeakable. If they put the
no, their
names and they were
entire cities were
unspeakable,
also hidden too. And here's the
yes,
funniest part.
but the names aren't hidden.
They were actually. No one knew about Invac and Onvac until John Carter found them. Also, here's the dumbest part. They were at war with each other on and off for centuries. And because they're invisible,
And
they actually struggled to
nobody
find
knew.
where they were. Like, I'm not even kidding. Conflicts between them was actually a pain in the ass because they kept not figuring out. Oh, is this like an enemy? Is this an enemy scout? Oh no, that was my friend. Shit, I'm sorry I stabbed you.
I would imagine like red versus blue, but set in here. What are they doing? I don't know. What are they doing now? I don't know. I can't see them.
But by the way, dishonor is an actual mechanic. If you use dishonor, it basically fucks with basically, it
Your
makes them treat
reputation.
you like shit, and you're gonna struggle as a character.
Then they go here and give us the technology. We got the fly. We talked about before the flyers.
Well, the eighth and
The
ninth ray,
eighth.
which I summarized.
Yep. Uh, equilibrium motors.
Yep. That's the
Basically,
keep it so that
flying.
basically the equilibrium motors they prevent the rays from being uneven because if too much of the eighth ray is in like the back ballast, the ship is going to float vertical up
Actually, they've
at
got
a
a
90
nice. They've
degree
got a
angle.
nice naval battle here, which again, bring up the Star Wars. Looks like Jabba's palace or
Well,
Jabba's sail barge and the hut ships, along with some of the Kashyyyk elements of their flyers.
what if I told you that I think what happened was Disney was inspired by Jabba's barge when they designed them, but I think it's also based on Frazetta did a lot of art of these ships, as did several other artists during the 70s and 80s. I wouldn't be surprised if it was such a cool idea. By the way, fun fact, if at any point the buoyancy tanks get punctured, the ship will just go down like damn near instantly, everyone screaming to their death. You actually see one of the ships going down. Like, yeah, once the buoyancy tanks are busted, you go down in a fireball fast.
Hmm. Also, we got pneumatic trains and
Oh,
submarines.
also, Martian. Also, if you're wondering, Martian crewmen on flyers, they are trained to always have a harness. Like their harness have a special hoop that allows them to attach to the ship, so that in the event that one of the tanks puncture, because once you lose buoyancy on part of the ship, it will actually rapidly start going down. Like let's say the front tank goes, the ship is going to stay vertical, like 90-degree angle with the back up in the air, the stern, or vice versa. That's to prevent you from falling to your death. But yeah, there are submarines because I mentioned that there are no sources of water, right? What if I told you I lied and there's a hidden ocean?
Okay, but why would they have submarines? Who are they going to war against?
It's mostly used by the firstborn to get around to places.
Oh, that's right, because then people would detect it.
Well, it's more just because it's a way to go between island to island secretly because the politics of the firstborn are pretty serpentine.
Ah,
It's also a lot of their also it's a way to navigate because the underground ocean of Omian, the way it works is it's underground, so sometimes you have to go under the water to get to a different island.
hmm.
That's why they have submarines. Also, their flyers are unique in that they actually are seaworthy, if I recall correctly. As in, they can float in the air, but they also serve just as well in the water.
Let's see. Then we have communication technology. Um,
Oh, they referenced
uh,
the Swords of Mars like flying ship, I think.
yep. Radio technology is available, but code breakers can easily get it, which means we're back to couriers.
Couriers are used in times of war. For entertainment, communication technology is perfectly fine.
Given the restriction on wireless communication by assume, it's perhaps unsurprising the Martians to turn attention outwards to their planets. Martian astronomical instruments, wireless photography, and wireless telephone have been applied to monitor life on Jasum.
Yeah, they've
Many
studied
Martians now
Earth. They
speak
studied Earth life
Urdu,
for a while.
English, Russian, and Chinese.
By
Oh
the way,
god.
you can actually now talk to each other. The planets actually can talk to each other via gridley waves. So in this setting, you can actually, if you want to, wire a telegram to Earth. You could go like, "Hey, can I talk to Berlin?" And they'll be like, "Sure, let me hook you up via the gridley wave."
Oh boy, I can't wait to talk to my great pen pal Anne Frank. Just I just haven't been on the planet since 1935. What? They did what? We did what? To who? And them?
She's what? The
Wait, wait.
biosciences.
What do you mean? Don't. Maybe it'll get better. You know, maybe
So,
it'll get better. Maybe it'll come in a few years.
so in addition to,
They're all in what now? And to do that, they had to do what? And the other countries had to, and they just accepted it.
so to the biological sciences. In addition to airship design, Mars is pretty advanced in this regard too. The origins of their excellence lies in the ancient past because they were really good surgeons. One of them was so good. They even reference him. It's Lee Umlo. He distinguished himself as an embalmer of unparalleled renown. So great were his skills that those he embalmed still considered themselves among the living. Many of his subjects remained inert and undisturbed in the pits of hordes. It is possible that what the Aurivars considered embalming was in fact a sophisticated form of suspended animation, administered in moments before death to permit the subject's body to an extended period of time to heal itself. That is a load of shit, and I will tell you why. Because the people that woke up from Lee Umlo's stuff, they dissolved into dust when they saw what the fuck happened to Mars.
Wait a minute. I think Fallout 2 referenced it.
Yes, they
There's a
did.
guy. There's a guy in the Sierra. Is it the
Sierra
Sierra
Madre
Army
Depot.
base? Yeah, that wakes up. It's like, oh boy, and then it immediately just falls apart.
Yep. I mean, he doesn't. It's not immediate. Basically, they lose the will to live and fall apart. I will
Mm.
say though that a really funny thing you could do is actually just you could use that for as a representation of Sith alchemy. Some say that the ways of the Sith allow for ways that are otherwise unnatural.
Oh, I'm back. I'm in my young body, and why
Falls
is my
apart into
dick
dust.
falling off?
Why am I
Ugh,
turning into dust?
not again. Right, this one better work.
Make more clones.
It shouldn't be this hard to make a clone body. I'm a fucking spirit now. I'm just inhabiting a body. We proved the soul works.
Oh, they even
So
hit.
what?
Oh, I love this. They actually are doing like some headcanon stuff. This book is actually going like headcanon here. It is likely that Hin Abtol, the ambitious Jed, he's only a Jed? He's supposed to be the Jedek. Jedek is chief. If you're wondering, the word Jed is an old Martian word for chief.
Frozen in the ice around his capital.
So basically, the villain of Lana of Gathol, the main villain, is Hin Abtol, which is this crude. Essentially, he was a former slave, if I recall, from the Yellow Martians who took over a city and conquered the North, and he did it just through the power of having a million men frozen that he then refreezes to use in further wars. Oh, they also referenced the brain surgery that Rastavas did. Transferring brains is pretty casual too, yeah. First stage involves withdrawing all blood from both subjects. This is then replaced with a specially prepared embalming fluid that prevents decay. The third stage is the removal and transfer of the brains and reconnection of severed nerves and ganglia, and the sealing of wounds with an anesthetic. The withdrawn blood is then treated with a revitalizing agent, rewarmed, and transferred. Ah,
You
that's
know,
what I kept
you know,
blanking on the names. Hormads. That's the term
well,
for synthetic
also,
men.
you gotta love back then. Yeah, we could just seal wounds back up with anesthesia.
I mean, they have cells. That shit can cure anything.
Yeah, to cure all.
Hormads in
But
cultured laboratories in the city of Morbus. Though most of these deformed creatures were of low intelligence, some were as intelligent as most Martians. Following a coup by the synthetic men and their almost complete destruction by John Carter, Rastavus has taken residence in Helium and has dedicated his genius to more benign research. So Rastavus, the entire point of him is he's an amoral monster in the sense that science at all costs, even if the thing I'm making is horrible. Like the meme of please don't make the torture vortex of eternity. You know what we should do as a company? Invent the torture from the hit sci-fi film, the infinite torture vortex of pain.
it could be billions for the bioweapon division.
The difference is he's not doing it for profit. He's just doing it because he can.
Yeah, that's pretty much the institute.
He's doing it because he can, and in the case of the synthetic men, to prove that he can make a superior form of life than what nature can.
But then the next chapter is talking about renown and
That's why
and
being
reputation.
dishonorable is not a good idea, because this fucks with your experience growth.
So you get experience growth, but you also have renown. Renown is done by doing great deeds witnessed by others. Even enemies who survive encounters with the characters will one day retell tales which grow their renown, which is why they don't have you really kill people.
Oh no, you
Because you
can't.
could
You can
basically,
kill people. You can kill a lot of people.
well, yeah, but the reputation of we were fighting in a battle and this guy literally said the phrase skibbity toilet and went on an entire phrase which had rotted our brains from the inside and we had to flee before the destruction.
I was actually
Truly,
going
this
to say.
is,
I was actually
as
going
he
to say.
says, the Sigma Riz.
I was actually going to do a fucking Morbius joke again. It was really fine until all of a sudden this crazy panthan said it's Morbin time, and then he's morbed all over the place. We must investigate the ruined city of Morbus just in case there's more of his type. As for what renown equates to, basically the more renown you get certain reputations.
Perks, discounts.
You also can get accolades, which is just
All,
advantages.
yeah, actually, I remember this system in Dark Heresy because they do say here if you do not spend your renown, that if you're trying to travel in disguise in well-known areas, it's difficult to do that. Same thing where it's like if your reputation as an inquisitor is to be ostentatious and grand, well, you might be able to intimidate, but you can't really get what get things through stealthily. But
You,
also,
you can
Elstel,
also just use renown in the style of momentum. Oh, Elistil? What did Elistil say?
y- guys, maybe putting billions into the Soul Ripper project was not a good idea, regardless of how the stocks are looking. But Elstel, numbers going up.
Meanwhile, the creator of the Soul Ripper, Rastavis, is like, I only did it to prove that the soul was a myth.
And we thank you for that with a nice stock dividend.
Good.
Look, the numbers going up.
Good. I will use the stock dividend to put into the robots that kill all of humanity project.
We'll see if that makes number go up.
Ah, man. But yeah, you use renown to get a lot of perks, abilities, allies. You can
Yeah.
also help your allies change power, which, I mean, one of the first examples is Tars Tarkas. He was a chieftain that became, well, king among his people. John Carter does this repeatedly, by the way. He does this with a lot of former enemies that he's turned friends. He's kind of, interestingly enough, you could actually argue he's like the first iteration of Goku, because a lot of his allies were former enemies.
I do like here. that there's also then these costs you can have to get titles. And they go over first for the Green Martian titles of Odd War, Jed War, Chieftain, Prince or Princess, Jed, and Jedek Jedara.
Yeah, there's a. Oh no, this is if you're wondering. No, that's not their titles. So
Oh,
that's all titles in general because they share a lot of them. Green Martian titles. While Green Martian tribes and hordes have major titles like Jedek and Jedwar, they sometimes become a bit looser with the lower titles. However, Green Martian characters can purchase most titles and define them as being an equivalent rank. Thus, even if a horde does not have a Tidwar, a Green Martian character could still purchase the title and be described as a sub-chieftain for a horde. So the way it works is at the lowest rank you have guildsman or guildswoman. This is just you being a member of the guild. Assassin's Guild, Gunsmith's Guild, because in Mars, despite its technological advances, they're still bound by the guild system. And that's not necessarily the end of the world, because again, they have a lot of influence, particularly the Assassin's Guild. Holy shit.
just be careful they don't have a guild of navigators.
Uh, there is a guild specifically for shipwrights, and I imagine there's a guild for the navigation tools. So there is a navigators guild, but not in that way.
Yeah. Then you have the Dador titles of the Firstborn
So
Nations.
this is unique to only the firstborn. Dator is a term that loosely translates to warrior prince. It's not really a prince title though.
Wait, Damus. Barsoom has guns.
Oh, quite a
Yes,
bit.
they.
They have
Yeah.
rifles, pistols. They don't have submachine guns, but they do have pom pom guns on their ships equivalents.
Also, I do see a message from Elstel. It's ripping out the shareholders' souls. Well,
Its number's
we
still
can
going up.
redistribute. Yeah, numbers still going. We can redistribute their stocks. Make it easier entry point to get in.
I do like how they use the military title. So a Thon is the lowest rank of the Navy or Army. It's a Thon is basically a private. Padwar is lieutenant and commands a small group of soldiers or serves under the captain of a ship, the Dwar, as an officer. The Dwar is the captain of a ship or a company of men. Tidwar is the equivalent of a major, and they usually either command a battalion or a major warship and its
Wait, hold.
escorts.
Wasn't Dwar also the name of one of Middle Earth role playing games? Uh, why am I blanking on that?
No, I know who you're talking about,
Nazgul.
Dwar of Wall.
Yeah.
I think that's the Dog of Dog. Yeah, it's Dog of Dog. I remember him.
Hmm.
There's Adwar, which is the general. Then Jedwar, which is just a great leader. This is more commonly used among Green Martians. Chieftain, this is the equivalent of a Duke or Baron. This is mostly used by the Tharks and other Green Martians. But
Hmm.
chieftains can be a term for some, because some Red Martian cities are a lot more podunk and backwards. This is usually where you'll find this title.
The more civilized ones obviously will use prince or princess,
Oh no, prince
or
or princesses, you have to be directly related or married into the royal family or ruling family. A chieftain instead usually gets replaced with like Jed. Although Jed is higher up because it's usually the leader of like an independent or subordinate city. It's like a combination of mayor and like a duke. And Jedek is the equivalent to title of king or emperor. It depends on how big the city is. Donovan is asking, so you're saying John Carter books do in fact have their own prototype of Dune Spacing Guild? Got it. I mean, they did experiment in making spaceships. Hey, look, it's Tal Hadjus. Here's the fat piece of crap. This
who
is
is
the main
that?
antagonist in the first book, or at least one of them.
He really looks like an orc.
He is the cruel. He was one of the cruelest of his own kind, and in his old age, has grown fat and lazy. He kept rule together mainly via fear. They also give examples on how the titles work because title changes can be. It just depends. You can lose a title due to circumstances unrelated. They received the renown back. And they give an example. Tarth is overthrown by a rebellious chieftain, or Jed. During this time, the character Thuvia, who was a major character in books 2, 3, and 4, is not technically a princess. She's an exile. You can also get special items using Renown. And you can also use Renown to change Barsoom, which I think is a cool mechanic because John Carter fucking burned his Renown to do this. Over time, here's the example. Over time, Mark's player character Tormund has become a Dwar of a famed Panthan fleet, mercenary fleet, and gained allies among various groups, including Kulan Tith of the nation of Cowl, and a roguish pirate known as Saja Min who commands several airships. After Tormund calls on Saja to transport his company on a mission to save Cowl from invasion, the Pirate Queen makes a positive impression on the Jeddak. Sometime after the adventure, Kulan Tith makes an offer to her, offering her status as privateer using the city as a home base, which bolsters Cowell's fledgling air fleet. When Tormund next visits his friend, he finds the Pirate Queen is now a general in the nation's growing fleet of privateers. Without him bringing these two forces together, the situation would have never developed. And that is something that I really like. They do want you to change the setting for better or for worse. Because John
You're not
Carter
necessarily,
did.
yeah, yeah. You're not role playing as just John Carter following in his lead.
You
You're
are the
playing.
romantic hero in your own quest and adventure. And sometimes you change things. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. It's just really neat. They're very open. Like every Barsoom that is played is your own take on it.
To paraphrase from Glorantha, your Barsoom may vary.
The history of Barsoom, and in this case, you're seeing some poor girl getting killed by an Okarian.
Classic diplomatic relations.
Also, you also see down here, that is a Cillian. This is a water reptile that's only found in the very few lakes and oceans that exist on Mars.
But are those green Martians? They can't be. They don't have 4 arms.
They're red men. They're yellow men. Also note the beard. Yellow men do have the ability to grow beards and mustaches.
That is a very green yellow.
They're underwater. That's why. It's an underwater effect.
Ah,
I love the art pieces in this book. The basic history is back in the old days when Earth humans had yet to descend from trees. When you were still in trees, before you could even spell your name,
your
we
name.
conquered Mars.
I was trained to destroy my own planet. We
Basically, Mars
bred with the
had
white
5 powerful
Martian.
oceans. It was beautiful. The grass was red, the trees were blue. It was lovely. Then the climate began to fall apart. The oceans decayed, the atmosphere thinned, and the 3 of the 4 original races bound themselves together, formed the Red Men, and basically went damn near extinct. That's not None of them actually did. The firstborn actually fled to the south where they found the hidden sea of Omian. In the north, the Okarians fled their enemies and basically did a last Valhalla Ragnarok stand outside of what's called the Carrion Caves. They managed to escape, survive in the North Pole, and build their own atmospheric plant, just in case the original one fails. Only out of the original races, only the Aurivar remained and essentially died out. There's not many left. There's a couple of communities at most. There's the Aurivar of Horrors, which basically hide in the city and basically try to avoid getting killed by green Martians. And then
Well, I
there's the
mean, it's kind of
Lotharians.
hard to survive in that. It's called the Dead City.
Yep. And then there's the Lotharians, who basically develop their psychic potential so much that they develop their own land of illusions and dreams to survive in. With their illusions becoming so lifelike, some of them actually gained a will of their own.
Oh no.
Oh, and lastly, there are the Therns, which escaped alongside the Firstborn. They settled in the Valley Door, and they were eventually tricked to serve as the servants of the Firstborn. And they go through the. We don't need to really go through modern Barsoom. We kind of covered most of it. Life on Barsoom, the biology. Barsoomian life tend to be multi-limbed, with most animals possessing 6, 8 to 10 limbs. Only the humanoids have the similar pattern of 2 arms and 2 legs. The birds of Barsoom are gorgeously plumed as a rule, but all are silent. They don't talk. And they can be as size as small as an earth hummingbird to as large as the Malagor, which is large enough to carry a green Martian in flight. Basically, imagine a giant fucking terror bird that can fly. This is just like we kind of covered a lot of this. Food and drink. Most Martian food is based on the milk provided by the Mantalia plant, a bland, tasteless liquid that is highly nutritious and can be made into substances that resemble cheese, tofu, or porridge. Mantalia milk is the only food eaten by the green Martians, but red Martians supplement it with other plants and nuts, fish caught in their canals, and rat meat.
So they can
Because,
survive entirely on dairy?
yes, they do.
Very efficient bodies, then.
Other foods include the fruit of the Usa tree, and there's also food tablets. Water is the most common drink on Barsoom. Mantalia milk is next most common, and alcohol is known, but it's often done in moderation because drunkenness is seen with ill favor.
Makes sense. You can't fight properly.
Don
Also,
was very entertained by the Battlefield Earth reference.
I was also trying to look up. There unfortunately is no Battlefield Earth RPG.
That's unfortunate. I'm gonna blame Scientology for that not happening. As for
Um,
the religion on Barsoom remains mostly similar.
it's ancestor worship.
A combination of ancestor worship, and originally they worshipped the deity Isus.
Hmm.
They believe they came from the Tree of Life, a primordial plant said to have grown in the Valley Door 23 million years ago. Within the fruit of the Tree of Life grew the first life, a multi-limbed worm, hideous plantman, the ancestor of the white ape, and the first man from which all races of man originated. And then there's the goddess Isus, whose religion was thrown apart, although there are some holdouts, even in the later parts of John Carter's reign. There were holdouts who still believed in Isus.
I'm just imagining that there's some Martians like, yeah, we've actually, well, no, we've met some extragalactic species. They were in like ships that were like two crossed triangles, and they wore funny hats. Call them Jews.
Well, they came from another dimension. Spirit science told me that.
Yes, you're right. But and now they're Jews in space.
As for how society works, among most civilized societies, they're gregarious, friendly. The reason I opened with Cower is that's their literal greeting. When courting a
Place
lover, they lay their sword at their feet to pledge allegiance or state their admiration. If this is accepted, then a proposal is made by asking if the courtier may refer to their lover as my princess or my prince, depending on the gender. And the other can accept this proposal by talking to their admirer as their chieftain.
I'm assuming John Carter did not know that.
He did not know that, and this actually led to the first massive tiff between him and Deja Thoris when they met. Because he crushed on her hard, she didn't realize it, and then she thought he was playing and making fun, making a pass at her. And then when she found out that he didn't know, she actually had a minor mental breakdown because she realized that in a way he's kind of like a kid. He didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, no shit, woman.
She didn't know.
He's not. He's not from your planet.
It's just it was so gauche that it just offended her sensibilities, though.
Only some rare remarks have explored the idea of lasting love and courtship, and they keep these relationships secret from their people.
Among the Green Martian, yes.
And then they
It,
have
it
their
changed
warrior,
among the Tharks, but that's just because Tars Tarkas is actually a good Jeddak.
yeah, warrior culture.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
warrior code is very serious. So dueling is very common on Mars, and there is a convention for it. The one challenge is the one to declare the weapon used, and you cannot use a weapon that is considered unfair. So let's say you challenge a dude to a duel, and he says, "All right, we'll duel with pistols." You have to use a pistol. You can't just pull out a rifle and blast them.
they also make a point here of the code only applies to individual combat and small scale conflicts. You're not a coward for running away from 100 sword-wielding enemies, but you are considered extremely brave if you do so.
Correct.
If you do
There
charge
is an
in.
exception, though, among honor duels. The Thurn are known to cheat.
And the Thurnar.
They're the White Martians that served the Firstborn. As in, they're the type of person that if you try to fight them with a sword, if they start to lose, they'll pull out a pistol and just shoot you.
Why would you ever duel them then?
Well, because here's the thing: the Thurns actually disguised themselves as Red Martians. They basically ran like this cult as the priests. They hid their nature. They hid their
Oh,
nature and basically ruled over the Valley Door as their own little fiefdom. They didn't know.
of course. Of course. If they're
Also,
so
also here's
disloyal.
a bunch of Firstborn hanging out in the underground. In the, I think this is. Oh no, this isn't not Omian. This is not underground. I think
No, I think these are the Black Martians.
they are the Firstborn. I think this is in the hidden valley of Camtol.
Looks like it. Honestly, it looks like they're out going to the beach.
That is what they traditionally are dressed like. Yeah. You can kind of see why Gore was inspired by. Oh, actually, you realize how a couple of them look like the slave outfit Leia had?
Yeah, but I also see there's a child in one of these.
Ah, well, yeah, coming of age
Well,
ceremonies and
yeah,
stuff.
kids.
Like, it's not weird. It's
I
like
mean,
they're not doing
honestly,
anything.
what I mean, I think this is probably applying to the society and socializing aspect. It looks like, yeah, just regular people. But also slavery. It's an openly accepted practice and forms a firm basis of the economy.
Most cities use
Men
slaves. Yes.
are allowed to be served by both male and female slaves, though to take advantage of a female slave is seen as both cowardly and dishonorable.
Yep.
Women are normally personally served by women, though if they possess personal male slaves, they are always eunuchs.
Yep.
Oh, the children of slaves are also considered slaves, though the child of a free man and slave is considered free.
Criminals can be sentenced to slavery if their crime is not severe. Lastly, a free
Ah,
person
that
can voluntarily enter slavery as a form of debt slavery or in gratitude for their life being saved.
Debt slavery, but without manumission.
Slaves can be
Hooray!
found in almost
All the
every
worst
stratum of
aspects.
Barsumian life, ranging from personal servants to the major domo of a palace and even street sweepers. They perform a lot of the mundane duties in the cities.
A slave-based economy, that's got to be really good for growing your economy. You have to feed them, take care of them, and you don't, and all at your detriment.
It is not common
God, if there
slaves
was,
can also be freed. Mainly, this is
if there
done
was
as a
only,
sign of gratitude.
and if there was only an efficient way for these people to be given a payment and be able to stimulate the economy in their own way.
Well, it should be noted there's an entire subsection because this is pretty heady shit. John Carter of Mars tries to portray the world as accurately as possible, but it's hard to deny that this was written in 1912.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a section here on the fact of the
And it was
institutional
supposed to be
sexism and
an
slavery.
exotic alien culture. It's a little less fun maybe today. The slavery and
But
strict sex and gender roles were two of these concepts.
it is today an exotic. Um,
Also, here's the other thing that they highlight because people who complain about this shit always ignore it. The slavery aspect traditionally was only because the characters were pressed into it, and it's usually by a culture that is it's usually by the tyrants, like more villainous characters.
I do think then saying it's a common practice. I think if you said it's used by tyrants and the more cruel societies,
And here's the other
I
thing. The gender roles, this is something that Carter himself flaunted. I've mentioned repeatedly there was actually a pretty skilled warrior woman in one of his later books. And on more than one occasion, you have strong-hearted characters like Lana, Tara, Thuvia herself was pretty fucking badass, given she could command Martian lions. I'm not even kidding. She had a special report with them and could telekinetically communicate with them.
and I'm gonna be they you could definitely play a lot more with that sort of if we're going like this exotic pulpy thing. You have the Amazonian kingdoms. You have the female warriors. Your Red Sonjas and the like.
And by slavery, it's more of a serfdom in a lot of cases. Like the whole going into personal service. It's more like the sworn shield of A Song of Ice and Fire in that regard. It's really up to you. You can keep the slavery aspect. It's supposed to be fairly softish, usually, except for maybe the criminal ones where they're sent to farms and mines. It is a bit fucky. I'm not gonna defend this. It is a bit fucky, but it's not a major part of the story other than when the characters are enslaved.
It's not like gore.
Oh hell no.
It's not like gore. You can't get rid of the BDSM.
Like
You could
here's the
comp-
thing, right?
you could completely do a John Carter of Mars campaign, ignoring any of the sexism and the slavery, or completely removing it.
I mean, hell, like I mentioned, Burroughs at least partially refuted the sexism in some of his later books in the series. Not perfectly, because again, most of those books were written from the 1910s to the late 1940s. Let's be honest there. I'm not going to try to carry water for it. He is pretty bad about that. But by the era it was written in, it was actually fairly progressive in some respects.
I mean, it's like condemning a Roman for being arrogant about their culture and looking down upon the inferior Celts.
Also, the chattel slavery as a whole is more of the Roman style. It's
Ah, yeah.
it's lifetime like our modern chattel, but it's not due to race. Like it is not due to race at all, except maybe
It's
as
still
unique specimens.
it'd still be funny if you did a um
Like the entire thing in Gods of Mars, Carter actually makes a comment when he sees the firstborn, and he legitimately said, "I had no problems with the black man at all," and he considered this man a fine specimen of humanity. Like you get what I mean? Like the entire thing
yeah.
is, it's not out of racism, really. In fact, he actually the way the firstborn treated the Thurns and vice versa, it shits on that.
At the same time, though, I have a great idea of a shitpost campaign where a bunch of socialists get transported into Barsoom and stage a revolutionary
You could totally
revolt.
do a slave revolt. That could be cool. Like that's the other thing. You could definitely do some cool slave revolt
The
style
true
games.
the true Red Martians.
You could do that. Let's see. I will say, however, because I have to criticize that. The dude was a eugenicist, more of the positive
Yeah,
sort, but it is an
like
aspect of
like
his
like in
being.
that weird way where it's not like we're gonna create the perfect human race and it's gonna look exactly like us. It's like no, we're gonna create the perfect human race and it's literally going to be a gestalt combination of all of humanity.
His red Martians are kind of the highlight of that example. And also, he does criticize negative eugenics. He uses the green Martians as a negative example where they bred out things like compassion, respect, love, you know?
It's just which I'm
But yeah,
surprising
like the
because
slave thing, that is a
question
thing. That is a
this
thing.
would be
They're usually treated more as servants, except when he's enslaved. So
I
play
realize
around with
this
what you will.
I realize this eugenics sexy women and white people getting punished. How is this not Movie Bob's favorite sci-fi series?
Because remember, a Heartlander, the disgusting Heartland, not part of Brainland, is the main character for the
He's
first
from
three books. He's a
Oh yeah, you're right.
Virginian.
And a Confederate.
So as for how crime works, it's pretty similar to on Earth, but there's some oddities. Theft for monetary gain, not common at all. It's virtually unheard of. And you actually can leave stuff alone, like if you just drop something because you're doing something out, like in a marketplace, no one's gonna steal that.
Halt. You violated the law. Drop what you're doing or be sentenced to punishment by death in the arena.
Assassination is technically illegal, but it's the most common crime on Mars, just as a heads up. All cities have at least one assassin's guild.
And they're treated like the gangsters in the 1920s during Prohibition.
Essentially correct. Kidnapping is
We get
also quite common.
Mhm.
Ransom and blackmail is extremely common. In
We got
particular, to highlight, female nobility is the most common target. Like that
princess
is the
gets captured.
sexism. Yeah, it's a bit of a sexism, but
But is it
do so at your own
it's the
risk.
yeah, because they can kill you as well.
Several princesses were actually pretty well armed and capable of using them. Even Deja Thoris, despite being a relatively peaceable Martian by their standards, she's still more than capable of blasting your ass with a pistol or using a knife to fucking stab you.
Then we have the technology, which we went over,
Architecture.
architecture. designed for protection against attack.
Inside cities closest to the walls are the homes of the poorest, along with small businesses and industries. In deeper parts of the city, near the center, you find the middle class, and at the center, the wealthy. All
Makes
dwellings
sense.
within Barsoomian cities are designed to be raised on hydraulic shafts at nightfall, which makes it much more difficult to make assassinations occur.
And then
The best way to
resources,
describe it is imagine a retrofuturistic version of Mughal architecture with Greco-Roman aspects. That's kind of what it looks like, but
hmm.
more colorful.
Then we've got the
Like think
resources,
Taj Mahal and the Parthenon, but wildly colorful.
which basically it's the water wars when it comes
As
to
and here's
resources.
the resources. Yep. Water is the most critical resource of all. Vast canal networks and major processes to draw water from the poles are big projects.
My green friends, do not become addicted to the water.
Uh, Speaking of which, the Red Martians are not above genocide. They've tried it on the Green Martians multiple times.
Speaking of which, the green Martian hordes, and no, they're not orcs, although I now have the great idea of the
I
orcs
love this
showing up
proverb. Here it is.
on
Leave a
Barsoom.
Thark's head in one hand and he may yet prevail. So most of the planet is ruled by the Green Martians.
About
Just
5 million of them,
yeah. There'd be more if they didn't kill each other so often.
with 4 great hordes, and smaller hordes prowling the spaces. They, again, are approximately 1 add 2 Sophads and 1 add 5 Sophads high.
Basically 12 to 16 feet. Average 14.
Tusks, so taller than a Warhammer Space Marine. A double torso, 2 sets of arms. Lower arms can be used as legs. Eyes are on the extreme sides of their heads. Um, Eyeballs are very white, um, giving a fearsome and terrible countenance.
Also, they can use their tusks as weapons. One of the tribes actually specialize in goring each other with their tusks in close combat.
Uh, Also, they can exist for long periods without food or drink,
Yep.
and they exist primarily on that mantilla, a plant found in the desert, which makes a liquid similar to milk, providing also a cheese-like food, which
So
means they don't need. They can survive in the desert on their own for a long time. They really don't have to stay in the cities.
that's why they wander around with their herds of thoats and zitazars usually. Also, as for how their social process works, it is heavily communal based. As
It
in,
seemed, yeah.
what happens
af-
are the Green Martian women are selected and bred collectively. Their eggs are evaluated via elder understanding of what likely means the most likely to be healthy. They'll assess them for size, weight, and what'll happen is they'll put them into little hatcheries that they dot throughout their tribal territory so that at any point their egg stashes don't get destroyed. And this is a common method that the Red Martians use to genocide them because they will fly by and bomb them.
and despite producing, let's say, 13 eggs each Martian year, the number of eggs that will be surviving in that community after being examined by the council chieftains, 100,
Mainly because it has to be the best 100. Like they are highly
which means
eugenic.
if we're going on the abortion argument,
Some of them are preserved in cold storage, at least
yeah,
ones that
they
did
are
not get selected that
they
year.
are murdering thousands of their own species because they're just
Before they're even
not that
hatched.
good enough. Yeah. And then every 5 years, these 500 eggs will be chosen, placed in airtight incubators, and hatched after a period of another 5 years.
By
And in
the way,
10
those
years,
hatches, if you don't hatch soon enough, they'll just leave you to fucking die. Like if there's eggs that are unhatched, they just leave them. Fuck them.
and then those hatchlings examined for defects. Any that are seen deformed or defective in any way, killed on the spot without sadness or fanfare for any member of the community.
Sometimes they'll laugh if it's particularly grisly.
And they emerge 3 to 4 feet tall, just right out of the gate.
Yep. and they are
And
raised with no mothers. They're raised collectively by the women and taught the basics on how to hunt, how to shoot, how to
they
attend
have,
to basic
you know,
things very
it's
briefly, and then
essentially
yeah.
it's essentially eugenicist war bands murdering and pillaging throughout the entire planet because that's the only thing that they are trained to do.
Also, the green women are not treated as mothers. No, they're the
There's wives.
responsibility. They're not even wives. Responsibilities. The
Yeah,
males are
these people are
responsible for
fucking
hunting
evil.
and war. The females oversee manufacturing thing. The women are the ones that actually make everything.
Well, makes sense.
But what did you say?
They
Sorry.
made the I completely forgot, but
I think you said these guys are fucking evil. Yeah, they're pretty
yeah,
darn.
yeah, they kind of are. Basically, the women are literal factories in the sense, both in the biological and the mechanical sense. The men are just sent off to fight and die, and the cycle repeats again and again and again.
By the way, here's a lovely piece of art of one green Martian enslaving another with barbed chains. Because that's the other thing they do a lot of slave raids. A warlike race. There are other natural causes trending towards the diminishing of the population, but nothing contributes so greatly as to their war and desire for a war. They like to use long swords, short swords, spears, daggers, pistols, hatchets, rifles. They're some of the best warriors on Mars. As in, to give you an idea, among the tribe of Thark, their riflemen are so skilled that they can solo fucking ships. They have actually sniped and stolen ships by just
Looking at
doming the
their yeah,
officers, doming the soldiers, and just fucking picking them clean.
looking at what little culture they have, they barely have any laws. Property is communal.
Oh yeah, laws are just usually made up on the spot and either kept or thrown away depending on who the next chieftain is in charge. Culture,
They find humor in suffering,
they find
and
humor in death. They actually smile in acts of cruelty.
yeah,
Yeah,
these are orcs. These are just orcs with two sexes.
I mean they're also not played cartoonishly. They're actually played completely straight.
Yeah, you can play the orcs as that as well, and yeah, they're fucking terrifying. Especially that one time where they took an entire human population and fattened them into pretty much fucking cows.
They don't do that. That's a
It,
little too like because the cruelty's more in the just they usually just kill. As for
yeah,
prisoners of varied importance are routinely captured. Prestigious captives are taken before the tribal leader, and it's the responsibility of this leader, Jed or chieftain, they usually use the term chieftain, to ensure that this happens. The prisoner is not to be killed except in cases of self-defense or attempted escape. And here's the interesting thing. Captives, even among Green Martians, are allowed a lot of freedom of action, and can even attain statuses within them. John Carter was a prisoner and slave among the Thark, and yet he was also treated as, I believe, a 10th order rank chieftain of this tribe because he killed the 10th chieftain of the tribe.
you keep what you kill.
Correct. Basically, if you can defeat the dude in combat, kill them or assassinate them, their shit is your shit because all of the property is communal, by the way, among Green Martians. There is a central depot that basically the more valorant you are, the more supplies you can requisition, usually at the permission of the tribal chief. They're actually disturbingly communist in this regard.
They're just fucking weird.
I love the Green Martians because they're just so alien as an ideology. Like the way of their thinking is so alien. Also, another thing that made John Carter very much appreciated among the Green Martians, he taught them how to treat their animals well. Uh, so John Carter, as a cavalry officer, very much kept good care of his horses, right? He did the same to his war animals that he won from the chieftain he killed. And because of that, he became a better horseman. He became just a better combat specialist with his animals. And the Green Martians around him started copying him by doing this because the thing is they actually understand strategic advantages. They just don't understand why showing affection to these animals work. Like they don't even understand why they're doing it and why does it work. Like why is petting this thing making it want like and actually allow me to ride it better?
Now I have a question. Does every other race on Mars recognize that, yeah, treating animals right is better for their
It
productivity?
depends. It does depend. Red Martians actually do have menageries, and Martian women are known to keep this little reptilian creature with big teeth that are the equivalent of cats to them. Some actually believe in sacred animals. The yellow Martians, for example, used to worship the Apt and Orluk as powerful spirit animals. And among the Lotharians, they worshipped a giant Martian lion as the bringer of dreams. Or no, not the bringer of dreams. Like all comes from Komal.
Mm.
So the Great Hordes, the Tharks are the most well known.
You got the Tharks, you've got
These are the
the
guys from the
War,
John Carter movie.
yeah, you got the Warhoon, the Torquoise, and the Third,
So very
which are the
briefly,
fourth.
the Warhoons are your stock villain Green Martians because out of the four tribes, these guys are the craziest. As in, you know how they're all skilled with weapons? Sometimes they go so battle crazy, they just drop their weapons and will just beat you to death with their fists or try to gore you with their tusks.
Are you sure they're not the actual Red Martians of Corn?
I mean, they basically go full blood for the blood god. They also are well. Here's the other reason why. They're noted skull takers. They love to take trophies from their
Oh,
fallen
yeah.
victims, particularly skulls, which they wear as bandoliers.
I mean, I'd say that the Burrows should sue Games Workshop if it turned out they were actually making thrones of the skulls.
Not thrones, but a lot of personal items usually use bones from the people they've
Ma
defeated and killed.
Makes sense. I'm looking here. The Torquoise are
They
uh
made up some legends. Like there's the legendary Kab Kaja, who is supposedly like their messiah figure. It is said he will one day return to lead the purest warriors of the Martian horde to the end of the river Is. The Warhoon have no interest in grand narratives. Uniquely among the Green Martians, the Warhoon consider any of their number who have survived long enough to venture along the river Is a failure. If you live too long, you are a failure. Not dying in a swirling chaos of blades and yelling it is to avoid the blade of your appointed killer, the most heinous example of cowardice of all.
okay. This is really not getting a good alien society.
Yeah, because the Thark are the most human-like of the tribes. They're the most human-like because
Yeah.
essentially the circumstances have changed a little since Tars Tarkas made himself ruler of this horde. They're willing to ally loosely with Helium. Their culture does not mean they're weak and decadent. They still love battle. The difference is they actually are more willing to use tactics. They're equivalent to the orc clan that thinks about tactics and follows the Yumi way sometimes. Blood axes. They're kind of blood axe like in that regard. They also are developing a little bit of arts and culture, although not a lot. They're not very interested in it.
Let's see. Then there's the Torquoise, which
So
is
these ones,
our city folk,
yeah,
which means they're just raiding from a city, I presume.
they're, the Torquas as a whole were not very well. They were really only used in in the Thuvia Made of Mars book. it they're kind of generico that you only use them if you're in this area. They
Yeah. And
basically
then
make them however you want. Using the Warhoon and Tharks is kind of your gauge because the Tharks are like the most civilized. The Warhoon are like them at their worst. Just kind of pick and choose what you want among them.
the third, crazy psychic people.
Yeah, basically their city was thought lost, but they still exist and they are very eager to add warriors to the ranks.
Crazy psychic people.
Yes, they are.
But then we go to the Red Kingdoms, the various red Martian kingdoms, which, to give a brief overview, feudal, The violence is a part of it.
Violence, politician, a lot of snakes den planning.
Yeah. But there is, I believe, a sense of a rule of law, but it's based on each nation or, I guess, city-state.
Yep, Red Martian society is feudal. A given kingdom is
Yeah.
held by a Jeddak who rules from the capital city and holds any other cities he can intimidate by force or entice through commerce. Each smaller city is ruled by a Jed. Jed hold absolute power in their personal realm, but owe absolute fealty to the Jeddak. Districts within the city, as well as outlying settlements, are administered by chieftains, who hold the same relation. Combat is a perfectly acceptable and preferred method for handling slights, affronts, and grievances. To the point it is said that violence between Red Martians is the only force keeping the population of these otherwise long-living beings in check. It is a mixture of politics and force. You still have to be able to throw down as needed.
There's a good example here where they're talking about the anachronistic weapons, but it's a contrast in between high technology and classical age techniques. I think the same thing. It's high society, traditional culture.
Yep. The Green Martians have rifles with awesome stopping power and astonishing range. Red Martians have vast dreadnought warships. They prefer to fight with sword and dagger. Technologically, red cities are a contrast between that. Yep. As for how rules of law work, all of them have their own legal code, so feel free to use medieval laws as a reference guide. Punishments are traditionally harsh from those who break them. Death is very common. Slavery is very common. Exile is extremely common. Even vying for a throne requires adherence to the law. Though any Jed or Jeddak may be challenged to combat for his title, the circumstances are very specific. One who slays a ruler under other circumstances can never gain the throne. And there are even codes of conduct for assassinations. Unlike on Jason, where an assassin waits in the shadows to strike a victim from hiding, the act on Barsoom is carried out in plain sight.
The laws of Canley have been obeyed.
Also, personal honor is one of the most important things among Red Martians. No Red Martian will willingly lie or show cowardice. This is so central of being. Even non-warrior Red Martians are less swayed by brave, like basically, even non-warriors hold up to this. They also
Uh,
consider bravado very commonplace and
And
as
then we
mask for
did
cowardice.
and then we did go over the courtly love, although I do want to bring up one thing about the wedding ceremony. Most include the clamping of golden collars around the throats of husband and wife alike to symbolize eternal service to one another.
Yep. This is
I
also
can
how you get
see where Gore
promotions.
got its shit from.
Well, there's a similar one of armbands to indicate camaraderie and brethrenship, and also as a promotion. Often given to you by the Jeddak. Basically, it's the equivalent of getting knighted.
Oh, while I was thinking of that, there is a Gore RPG.
Yes, there is. Also,
Because
Dunmus says, "Hey, great! Now I want to see someone run a campaign on this where the Tharks are the war boys from Mad Max Fury Road." Yeah, you could do that. They don't really ride. They don't really ride animal. They only ride animals though. Although there is the time where they they awkwardly were able to fit onto some ships to raid Zodanga at the end.
let's see. Then they do bring up, they'll have red armies. They've got airships. This is the thing. They've got air superiority.
So the way the Red Armies work, because hey, if you ever want to do a skirmish game, this might help you. The size of an army of any given Red Martians can muster is related to the loyalty earned. A Jeddak can assemble a much higher forces than a chieftain, but a popular and beloved chieftain could actually form one large enough to challenge ones disliked by a Jed. They
Yeah,
they tend
tribal
to
sort of
be
politics.
citizen armies. Basically, you have to hire your rep, and it's a combination of you don't really levy.
Citizen
It's mostly
militia.
Yeah.
Airships, let's see, can range from one-man craft to great battleships of 10,000 crew,
Oh yeah.
with larger craft often in service of a smaller fleet. So yeah, that helps keep probably the Greens in check is the indiscriminate bombing campaigns.
Also, these ships can fly up to over 150 miles per hour. And the maximum speed, thanks to John Carter, has gotten to 300.
Uh, Interesting enough, they don't really name their vessels.
Uh, no, I
Stories
believe
of
they do.
stories of the Revenge or HMS Ulysses, so common on Jasum, are not part of the general red storytelling or military tradition. Were it given a name and develop a reputation, it would be a truly noteworthy occurrence. So again, you earn the name through your work.
Somewhat. That's there's kind of an exception in Lana of Gathel where they're given titles just as it's not because of names, like they're not named in honor of famous things. It's more just so that you have something to write down in the report. Like the ship Dusar was able to defeat a force twice its size, like was able to
Yeah,
secure it's more just for placement.
but then after that, they're giving
Also, yeah,
us
mercenaries are very
yeah,
popular, as are privateers. Oh, this is a beautiful.
they're
This is
giving us
Zodanga, I believe.
yeah more detailed breakdowns of the various
No, actually, that's
city
helium. Never
states.
mind. That's helium. I'm stupid.
Helium, Zodanga, Kaol, Dusar, Tarth.
The only ones that I'm gonna really note is Helium is the main city that the books talk about. It is mainly it is the largest of the Red Martian nations by the end of it, and it's that is Zodanga because red. Yeah, Heliumites
Ah,
use blue. That I was right. I was right the first time. I corrected myself wrong.
but then after that, they're going on about the
Zodanga, they were a rival. They had a lot of assassin guild. Cowl is a city state, very backwards. Dusar
but
is
that, but
mostly known because their leader Astok was an asshole.
but then we have talks about Okar and beyond. But we've already discussed like what the Okar are, and I do want to say this, and having discussed this, it does want me to seek it out. And what's great is everyone remember, currently in U.S. copyright law, I believe it's 75 years plus life of the owner.
Oh no,
Burroughs dropped.
actually, John Carter is public domain now.
Yeah, when did Burroughs drop dead?
Early 50s.
Burroughs dropped dead in 1950. Guess what year it is?
Yeah, I mean it's already been like the stories were already public domain.
Yeah, so you could you
Because
actually can
remember,
go on.
the first book was written well over a decade before Disney existed as a company.
You're
So
right. So it would have been grandfathered in, I guess. Um,
I just want to show off Penar because there's a lot of cool art. Like here's some really cool arts of Tunal, which are capable of flying. Here's just like some cool Thoat riders. I just like the look.
and then they
But
do give
I want to
us,
show I want to show Panar because you can see Hin Abtol's army getting frozen. Ah! Yeah,
let's say
technically
that
the
the
Barsoom Saga are all public domain, but now it's completely public. And here's Okar and Beyond,
yeah,
which we're skipping
they do
since you
give
mentioned it. Oh,
beyond
here's
Barsoom.
a cool piece. Look at this piece on page 130. That's an apt. That is
The
the most
thing,
dangerous creature of the poles. It is hippo-like in movement, has arms like a polar bear and eyes like a fly. Those are compound eyes.
oh, those are truly alien.
Also, these idiots are gonna fucking freeze to death. You're supposed to wear furs when you're up this far north.
No, no, they have a fur. See? Plus, he's got facial hair.
Oh, they reference the Guardian of the North. This is a giant magnet that just yanks ships that try to cross the Great Northern Barrier to their death. Oh, they even reference the Pit of Plenty. That was a very evil torture device. So the Pit of Plenty, the way it works is you're shoved into this pit, right? And you slowly starve as they don't provide you anything but drink. But they waft in the scent of food, and all around you is mirrored glass that allows you to see the rooms around you, which are filled with food.
Oh, that's
Succulent
dickish.
feasts prepared by the personal chef of the Jeddak. The idea is to basically break you slowly. People have actually gone crazy in the Pit of Plenty. They also have force field shitty. They have force field domes to keep the atmosphere in, to keep the moisture and heat in.
So they do state elsewhere to go. You could go to Jasum.
Yep, Earth
Uh,
timeline. It's fairly fluid on Barsum. They go a little bit into Earth.
Because they say there's even rumors that Jasum is hollow to a strange new world as Pellucidar.
That is true. You can go to Pellucidar if you want.
There are rumors on Jasum's nearest celestial neighbor, totalitarian regime seeking to rule the moon and other threats.
That is from another Edgar Rice Burroughs book, and I
Yep.
forget the name of it.
But Venus, the explorer Carcer Napier claimed the world was known as um, Amtor by
Amtor by the
natives.
natives. This is the Sky Pirates of Venus. It's a very tropical world. I believe it inspired Ray Bradbury to make Venus a tropical world.
Um, Mercury, Ray Thavis has conducted studies of Rasum, but too extreme of a heat.
Essentially, I
But there
don't
are
think
people.
anything was written about this one, so this is kind of slapped together.
Yeah. Jupiter, there's the skeleton men. There's blue-skinned human beings called the Saboteurs.
If you're wondering, the skeleton men are pretty big assholes because they enslaved the Saboteurs specifically as chattel.
And then, of course, there is the moons of Barsoom,
Which you actually go
Thuria
to.
and Chloros.
Thuria is the closer one. They actually go to Thuria. That's where the Teriads and Mycena are. The Mycena are basically ape creatures with one eyes.
Two-mouthed, one-eyed tree dwellers with yellowish manes. They will devour prey alive if necessary. Fun.
Also, the reason they show the firstborn is because the black pirates are rumored to come from Thuria. That's why they
Yeah.
have them depicted like that. It also shows Thuria right there.
But with that, though, we will
It's getting a bit
end
late, so let's
because the
just
rest
quickly
is
show
sort
off
of,
the critters.
yeah, it's just GM
I
stuff.
want to show the critters at least
Yes.
because there's a lot of fun ones. They also give you tips on expanding the world. Some
Well, they do
inspiration
give
sources
us.
if you feel like it. Here's the beasts. There's the apt. Look at him.
Oh, they do give banths
Yes, they do. Here's the
in a in
Arbok, which
a
is a reptile monster. There's the
in
Banth.
that
Look at him.
yeah in that kind of Frenzata style.
Well, yeah, Frazetta did a lot of cool art of these guys. I love them. Look at them. Aren't they cute?
Yep. Hallett,
That's the Martian dog, and there's Woola.
the flying, I guess, Malagor.
They're a giant bird. There's the giant bird. By the way, Rastavus brought them back from extinction just to prove he could.
But why do you want to turn people into dinosaurs? You could have cured cancer.
I don't want to cure cancer. I just want to bring birds. I just want to bring this bird back from extinction. Oh, the plant man. I love these things. These things are fucking horrifying. Okay, think about it like this. They are legitimately partially plant and vampiric, as in they're blood drinkers. They're omnivores that eat plant detritus and blood through their hands, which have mouths in
Ooh,
them. Also, you see those tails of theirs? At the end is a bony spur that they can use as a club.
ooh,
They're fucking great.
yeah. Oh, then we have the Sith. Sith are monstrous flying insects, 8 to 10 sophids long, with armored bodies, great darts of chitin cartilage.
Yeah, these things are very difficult to put down.
Well, of course they are.
And
They wiped out most. They wiped out all but two of them. And they survived for 1,000 years.
they are hostile, vicious, and tenacious. They attack without mercy, biting and stinging their opponents to death.
But
Occasionally,
enough about wait. But enough about General Grievous.
there's the Sorak, which is a cat, basically. It's a
Martian
six-legged.
spider.
Yep. Yep. There's Martian spiders.
Synthetic men.
I'm surprised they didn't have any. Oh, there they are. That's what the synthetic men look like. Don't you love how mutated and twisted they look?
Yep. The Thoat. The Ulcio.
Oh, there's the Martian rats. There they are. Martian
The
rats.
white apes.
The white apes throughout the books actually got more and more intelligent to the point
Oh,
where they are capable of
funny
using.
enough,
Yeah.
they have a creature creator.
Well, on top of that, here's another fun thing: the white apes' intelligence that make them possible to train. Sometimes mercenary companies keep them as entertainment, as like pets or entertainments. There's the elephant. Yeah, this is how you create further beasts. I
I would have.
personally think one to
Yeah.
six being mammalian is bullshit. I think it should just be one or two. There's not a lot of mammals on Mars anymore.
And then they give us more of the secrets of Barsoom.
This kind of spoils stuff like the Valley Door, Is the Holy
Yeah.
Therns. I'm surprised they didn't do any arts of the Thurn. Dead City of Horus. Here's Lothar. Also, this is the race of Martians that have red hair, because they have attained psychic powers. Which, by
At
the
the
way,
cost
D
of
and
the
D.
wait. At the cost of their souls.
Here's the other thing: Dungeons and Dragons actually has a race of psionic immortal humanoids that also have red hair. So I think that was inspired by these guys.
I do want to go to
Oh, they don't have art of the Caldans. The
I do
Caldans
want
are
to go to
great.
page.
They're little spider guys that control
I do want to end
bodies.
this though by going to page 270.
Oh, they
Is
show.
showing us the
This is the
character sheet.
Caldan. These are what the Caldans look like. 270.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's scroll past. There's Deja Thoris. These are just kind of cool art pieces. Just I recommend getting the book, so I'm just gonna skip ahead. There we go. So Donga on the Rise, further adventures. There we go. 270, you said? Here's the
Basically, where the
character sheet.
character sheet is,
Oh, I
and
love the usage of watercolors on this.
it feels authentic somehow with that
Yeah.
sort of Victorian pulpy kind of flavor.
You have a bit of Art Deco design. It has just like this nice blend of color. It's a little bit hinky to kind of work with, but it's actually a pretty good sheet, I think. It has an entire page just for your renown, what your character looks like, what talents they have, notes, what you know, what you don't know, and what can you do. Ah,
And then they live us with all the backers
there's a lot of people
and
who backed him.
yep, and then the
And here's some
southern
glossary
pole.
terms, yeah. Let's
It turns out
finish.
helium actually is on the southern part of the southern part of the planet,
Most of the plot of the Princess of Mars takes place on the southern hemisphere, yeah. Like there's the atmosphere plant, Thark,
and there's probably I
Korad.
think one of the craters that is actually called the the Burrows crater. There's a part of Mars that will ever forever be named after him.
Yep. I also like how they show the canals. Those canals are actually just where they do a lot of harvesting from the poles, if you're wondering. And if you're wondering what the dotted lines represent, that's basically the maximum extent of the poles when they during Martian winters.
But that is that's it.
That is
I
John Carter, and here's what the key looks like. Okar Martians, the firstborn, red Martian, green Martians, and ruins.
I think it's a good primer. Again, especially since all this stuff is free, really you can read the books and use this as just a guide to exploring it. Again, I
The
actually
books are
like
public
the
domain. You
yeah.
can read them on Project Gutenberg. It's the way it's written is it's not like massively dated, but it's written at that turn of the century style phrasing.
I,
If you've ever read Lovecraft, it's more workman-like than Lovecraft, so you're not going to get caught on purple prose as much. It's still quite readable. I find Burroughs is actually a really good writer to the point where even nowadays I think you can get appreciation out of him. The books are pretty darn good. They're classic romance, classic adventure, classic sci-fantasy. It is, if you read them, it's a little more basic, but there's a strong Star Wars feel when you read them.
and I'd love to read them and see that because I can just tell from this, it's the fact that there's a living, breathing world in this setting. Even though the books are only from the point of view of our main characters, we can tell shit's going down outside of them in this cohesive world.
Yeah, and on top of that, what happens in one book sticks around in the next ones usually, unless it takes place in a different area. I very much love this book. I very much love the book series. I will say formatting wise, I don't think I can rate this. I'd say it's really simple to get into, like it actually explains things well.
Oh, Don,
Formatting, it's a little rough. I
one
want to
thing.
give it a low good or high decent.
Yeah. Don is leaving us with the question of how would you compare Burroughs to Robert E. Howard? And my
That's a
answer is
good question.
I have not read either of them, so I can't comment.
Uh, I would say they have a lot in common. Like it's a lot in common, but I would say Burroughs is more romantic.
Yeah, I could
Basically,
guess.
it's a more glass half full and high adventure sort of feel. Like it's not as gritty as Howard's stuff
Like
is.
I think I probably see this. If you're reading uh the Barsoom, you're reading it for John Carter and Deja Thorne.
Well,
Conan, you're reading for
not really.
Conan.
After the first three books, you just read it because you like the setting.
Okay, but you get what I
If you
mean.
read Thuvia Maid of Mars, for example, you're reading it because you like Barsoom. Thoris is the main character, which is the kid.
And I guess that's the other thing. Conan really doesn't have a setting
No, it
in that
does,
way.
kind of.
It does, but it's like you didn't have somebody talking about, because my reference is pretty much the movies. You don't have somebody going on about like, oh, you were the guy who defeated Thulsa Doom.
The books, it's a little more because the books also cover his time as king, where he's the
Yeah.
wise philosopher barbarian king.
And I mean, if I guess there was a story that like his decisions from one book affected another one, or if they were more sort of like one-off vignettes.
The first three Barsoom books I recommend as a trilogy because you can't really read God of Mars without finishing it with Warlord. Same with Princess of Mars. Princess of Mars ends on a cliffhanger somewhat. The hope of are does everyone I know and love on this planet are they dead? And the next two books answer that. After that, you can kind of pick and choose what you want. Mastermind of Mars is pretty darn solid. If you like Rastavas, if you really wanted to like see the scheming mad scientist that I think inspired Lex Luthor in the Alpha, Alpha Trihominid or whatever it's called from Superman, I think he was an inspiration for that. I I do recommend the books quite a bit. You can get them as audiobooks. You can just kind of read them on Project Gutenberg. They're public domain. It's pretty sweet. It also is a book series that has a lot of great Frank Frazetta art. So if you actually can get your hands on the old, because they were sometimes printed as duologies, like God and Warlord of Mars, you can get as a duology, as you can Thuvia of Mars and the Chessman of Mars. Which, by the way, the Chessman of Mars has like one of the greatest set piece of it is legitimately a crazy fucking Jedek runs a death game that like a style after chess where the gladiators serve as the pieces and have to fight for the death using the rules of the game. Yeah, this is a good book. I think it's a little hard to read because of the three columns, but it's simple system once you get it. The
Though
problem is
next,
getting players though.
yeah, because you're kind of gonna want to the people you're gonna have are people who have read the books.
I mean, if they've played Star Trek Adventures, which is another Modiphius game, or if you've got there's a Conan game. There is a Conan game Modiphius did. I
Oh,
actually got that as part of my backer promo.
that would be a great cross splat.
Well, yeah, yeah, Conan is another splat they've done. So if you want to try Conan, I'd recommend Modiphius' system. Um,
Conan and John Carter versus Cthulhu.
I'm just envisioning John Carter narrating like Cthulhu was one of the most marvelous swordsmen he ever dealt with. In rare cases has he ever met such a talented and fearsome foe.
Oh wait, no,
Because
I got
John
another one.
Carter has a very strong habit of internally monologuing how his opponents,
Yeah,
particularly noteworthy ones, fight.
I got another one. This is more of a shitpost. Uh, John Carter versus or meets the Doomslayer.
That could be pretty cool. Like I said,
The thirds have opened a portal to hell.
John Carter is the Doomslayer.
No, no, no. The Doom. Like, he's struggling against these demons because 'cause they're not honorable or anything, and the Doom guy just comes in, it's
Oh,
like,
no, John Carter is more than capable of fighting
yeah,
dishonorable shits.
but still, there's more a lot, and the kind of bloodthirsty combat, Doom guy
I could see him getting
just
overwhelmed. Like you
hold
see
hold
hundreds of
yeah,
dead demons like
yeah,
stacked around John Carter. He's starting to get tired. He's injured, and then all of a sudden, you just see one of
done,
them
done,
disappear.
done, 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 done. You see a guy in armor just walking up and just shotgun, go ka-chink, and you just know what's gonna happen next.
So yeah, I'm gonna say if you like Modifius' system, not everyone does. A lot of people have issues with its economy system of momentum slash threats. You
If
could
if
probably
you want,
pass.
yeah, yeah. If not, maybe like a Dark Sun, I think would fit.
Yeah, I still recommend it as at least a high decent, low good. I like this book.
Same here.
Anyway, it's
But
almost
then,
3 hours,
yeah.
so let's finish it off by
Well, no,
saying,
well, no, well, no. It was supposed to be 3 hours. The timetable told us that we're supposed to do this for 3 hours. Next week, though, make sure everybody's here for the weekly meeting. We will be addressing the New World Order.
do not adjust your set, do not adjust your screen. Stay there as a member of the agency. Will be there. Do not worry. The world government is here to help.
Good night.